So I wasn't recording the audio until just now.
Oh my god!
So you guys just missed us talking about.
If you want to listen to the pre-show, it was going to be on Patreon.
You can head
Carter
over
was going to
there
make
now.
a lot of money. You can head over there now. It's not there because Carter.
Dang it!
wasn't
I
recording
opened
it.
so strong too.
With
Welcome back to Back to the Roots. This is your go-to podcast for unsolicited, unsupervised conversations. Okay, we're back. We are drinking Sprecher root beer
Definitely
today.
unsupervised. That's true.
That's not the word I usually use. It's
So we
unsanctioned.
Got to pretend to.
Sprecher,
right. I gotta
Sprecher root
pretend
beer.
like
So good.
just open this new bottle of root beer.
Look, we're 26 episodes in.
Yeah,
So at this point,
26?
it's not really about the root beer.
it's not about the root beer.
It's about
the
getting
friends.
back to the roots.
And the 102% added sugar.
Yes, sir.
My God, I've never seen any drink have over 100%.
This is going to be a scuffed one,
A scuffed,
my guys.
a scuffed one, my
one.
guys.
It's a scuffed one.
Anyway, we just went rock climbing, bouldering. We were only there for like an hour because
I have the big sick.
Taylor's technically still positive for COVID. So he was.
This is where you put up the subtitle. It says this was recorded in a bubble so that I don't
Taylor's
infect
actually
anybody.
All three of the cameras, if you're on YouTube watching, if you're not, head over to Back to the Roots.
I'm
on
in
YouTube.
Australia.
He's actually a good 40 feet away from us across
In
the
a
room.
hermetically sealed bubble with a couch in it.
You've seen the Jerry Seinfeld Bubble Boy episode. That's basically what's going on with Taylor right now. So, what was your guys' favorite route you climbed today? Nobody was really looking at like the grades. Like
Blue, I think, at the near the very end, when you first walk in at the very back right corner, I think blue that had the incline.
That
I
was a
think
fun
for
one.
me that was probably the most fun.
I didn't actually see what grade that one was. I didn't see a color on it.
I just looked to see if there are handles and I go. I'm like, blue handles, go.
I have an urge whenever I go in there and I see like kids and they like hop on the wall and they're just using all the holds.
Part of me
just
them.
part
Kick right in the head. Just
they're on
take
the,
them out.
they're
Like,
on the wall. I'm
how
just gonna,
far would they travel if you just kicked as hard as you? I mean, was that not what you were?
For our,
where you going with
for our
that?
listeners, I think it's important to say that the one inciting violence against children is,
Parody.
Is the one
it's a
who's
parody.
a parent.
he's the one who has children.
And I
He's
love them
holding
so
one of
much.
Speaking of our toddler toting papa over here, this is Taylor Reynolds joining us from Muskegon, Michigan, driving on down. Good
Not
to see you.
Mackinac.
Not Mackinac.
Nah.
We wished it was Mackinac because that means we could go up and visit someplace cool. And then also joining us in the corner over yonder, hence next to the wall where Steven is playing Destiny, through the wall. If you hear something, it's him. This is Kenpo Jon.
I love how you
Yay.
introduced Steven before you introduced Kenpo.
By the way, the guy you see on camera,
not him, the
behind
guy
him.
past him, behind the wall.
Through the wall.
That's
through the
Steven
wall.
playing Destiny there. You can see him, right?
if you hear him on Kenpo's mic, this is what really matters.
And this last guy that you actually see on camera, forget about him. You don't need to know his name.
Okay. Serious question. You get the opportunity to go to space. Elon Musk or some other dude walks up to you and he's like, I'm going to pay for it. Just show up on this day at this time. We're going to shoot you into space for and you get to spend a day in space. Do you go?
100%.
Do you die?
You face the odds. Going to space is one of the most dangerous places to go, I assume.
Well,
Statistically speaking.
but you come back if you don't die.
Yes.
That's usually
Unless
how
you die
not dying
coming
works.
back. If you come back and die,
Because if it
falling
was
toward the earth.
if it was a choice between
Wait.
living in space forever or dying in a launch to go to space, I would rather die in a launch going to space because I don't want to live in a bubble like I am in right now. Totally.
And you can probably hear Steven now, speaking of bubbles, coming through as well. Man takes Destiny very seriously. You're in a bubble right now, Taylor? Or you would be in a bubble in space?
Yes.
Okay. He doesn't like bubbles,
I don't like bubbles.
let alone metal bubbles.
So I was thinking you meant it was going to be like us and Elon Musk in a ship going to space and then coming back. That's what I was imagining.
Okay.
That's why I said yes.
So would you go if Elon Musk wasn't coming with?
I mean, if I still had a ship that was built to go to and from, yeah. If I'm just being shot out to space, no.
You know, that's actually a really interesting version of it is if Elon Musk goes with you.
That'd be dope.
Because he's never been on one of his ships, like to space. So it'd be so
Right.
fun.
You don't know that.
I would love to watch.
You don't
him.
know that.
Listen, you think he's sneaking out in the middle of the night doing his own private launches? Maybe.
Okay. You think a man that has everything and owns a space company, the world's best space company,
He has a space company.
hasn't ever just taken a joyride, you know?
Not when a joyride. I don't
Look,
know.
Rick and Morty have an interstellar spaceship, and they use that for all kinds of shenanigans. So, like, he has multiple of those things.
Rick
so,
and
like,
Morty, ladies and gentlemen, this is where we're at with
we're answering
Taylor.
the real questions
The
here.
real questions.
real questions.
Real questions and real wing. I mean,
Okay,
wait,
you have
no,
to
wrong
be either
podcast.
Rick or Morty. This is coming from a man who's only watched the Pickle Rick episode.
Pickle Rick!
Pickle Rick. You have to be Rick or Morty. Who are you going to be? No. You have to live with one or the other the rest of your life.
I'd rather live with Rick, just because I don't know. I feel like Morty's just a 14-year-old. There's
there-
nothing exciting about that.
Are there people outside?
Yes, there are. There's like a Christmas party going on.
Oh, I thought I was losing my mind, or like sound from his room was going around the apartment. I thought I was crazy.
No, you're not crazy.
Okay. I kind of like the idea of, I don't know, because like if I'm thinking fantasy wise, like 100% all the time, I want to live with Rick, because what I see him put Marty through, it's like he always gets him out. He's a brilliant man, even though he's basically a functioning alcoholic. Maybe that's why he's a brilliant man. I don't know. But then I'm like, but I run 2 businesses from home every day. So I'm just like, do I have time for him to take me to another universe and potentially get stuck there for a month?
That sounds amazing.
I mean, it does.
Free from all my problems.
But
finally.
also, when I come back, the amount of bills.
It's fair. Okay, have you guys both seen Psych?
Yes.
Okay, Sean or Gus as your best friend for the rest of your life.
Ooh.
Which one?
Sean.
Gus.
Okay, why?
Sean
'Cause-
takes risks.
Gus doesn't.
I feel like Sean would mess up my life in a way that it's not really that much fun with the shenanigans he gets up to. Whereas with like Rick and Morty, going interdimensionally and going through space, like that supersedes the fact that it's messing up my life. But if it's just like shenanigans involving like I'm pretending to be a psychic and I'm solving crime, it's like I just want to like hug my kids, watch an episode of Rick and Morty and go to sleep. Like,
Okay,
I
but,
work too much for
but
that.
can you imagine like you get woken up in the middle of the night by Sean Spencer just being like, hey, and then you go in and break into somebody's house and look for evidence? Like that sounds pretty fun.
That sounds like you got to go to prison.
Not if you don't get caught. Not if Lassie's on the job.
This is real life.
Here's the thing. Unspoken rule. They have to pay rent or mortgage for that building of business, which means they're making a decent amount even as fake psychics. And
They're waterfront too. Like that is prime real
so
estate.
like clearly Sean is doing some crazy quality stuff, and I want to be and as a businessman and a adventurer, I want to be a part of that Pablo Escobar. Yeah.
I want a piece of that Pablo
John,
Escobar.
of all the things you said, it does not shock me in the slightest that you'd be down to be involved in some kind of drug trafficking ring.
So many of my followers are going to be like, "Yep, that's John."
Okay, here's another real question. You have to smuggle either drugs or weapons or something into the United States. It could be from any border. What do you do? What is your plan to smuggle things into the country?
Depends on what we're smuggling.
Let's just say, I mean, it's something that's like not huge. So let's just shoot. That's a good point.
Are we also going through the drive-through lane, or are we doing an airport TSA checkpoint?
You are cooking up anything you can imagine.
Oh well, if we're just driving, I can just shove some stuff up my butt and go through the Mexico to U.S. driving lane.
That's not okay. Okay, you have to transfer either
100 tons of cocaine.
either 1 ton of cocaine
Jeez.
or 50 AK-47 rifles.
It has to be from Mexico?
It could be you just have to get it into the country. Doesn't matter where you're starting.
I'm suddenly
from.
thinking.
Give me a box truck. Let me drive from Canada to the
This
U.S.
is not the creative answers I was looking for, guys.
Well, you can literally drive over the border without showing a passport.
Can you get a ton of cocaine into a box truck?
I was thinking
Yes.
Creatively, they're gonna open it up. They're gonna crack open the back and take a look.
No, they're not.
Tom
you can
Cruise.
literally drive across the border from Canada to the U.S. sometimes.
Oh, from Canada. Sometimes it's a
Tom
gamble.
Cruise, American made, fly it over.
Okay, but they're gonna like catch. I mean, they're watching the skies just as much as they're watching the ground, and they
Are
might.
they, though?
They could shoot you down.
Okay.
How are they gonna know?
Get an
How
apartment
are they gonna
on
know
the
I'm just
Detroit.
carrying cocaine?
Radar.
Get an
Other than
apartment
this
in
podcast,
Detroit
How are they gonna know?
on the river.
They're gonna know.
You take a football. You load cocaine into the football. You throw it.
Do you want cocaine?
Hey, Steven. You
Steven's
throw
grabbing
it
chips.
over the river to Canada. You unload it, bring it back over, and then you just do that like 10,000 times.
Okay, hold on. I got distracted by Steven. You're doing what with footballs on a river?
You're loading the football with cocaine and playing catch with somebody across the river.
Oh, I wonder how long that would take. That's the long game, but I do appreciate it. That's actually pretty cool. Yo, here's your cover story. You tell Guinness World Records, I'm trying to break the record for how many consecutive catches between me and somebody else. And then they're like standing there watching the whole time. They don't even know what's going down. But that's how you excuse
And then
the
they're
behavior.
accomplices, and you can send them to prison if you get caught instead
Did
of
you
you,
say-
and say they're the mastermind.
Did you
Yep.
say U.S. to Canada across the river?
Yeah.
Have you been to that river?
Yes.
Pretty wide.
It's
It's
like
very wide.
It's probably
I would not be able to throw a football across.
probably
that.
like 200 yards.
Okay.
Okay. No, maybe 150
Dang
yards.
it. I don't have my phone. It's being used to record. I was going to do the math and figure out like how much volume is in a football, how much cocaine could you fit in, and then how many throws to get a ton.
I don't think you
the
could
government
do
is
that
watching
math.
your internet.
I don't buy
They're already
that,
watching
Carter.
I've said this before. I think I've said it on the podcast, but if I were a serial killer, here's how I would do it.
Oh.
This is going to get played in the documentary in 20 years in the Netflix doc. So I'm going to so you can go to like your average meat market and get octopus tentacles. Like it's got the suction cups and everything
Why do you know this?
because I've seen them.
Okay.
So I'm going to go to one of these places. I'm going to get some octopus tentacles. And then like in the Great Lakes, I'm going to get some scuba gear. And I'm going to wait for some people to swim out a little too far. I'm going to grab them, pull them under, suffocate. They're going to drown. But then I'm going to take those octopus arms and I'm going to wrap it around them so they get like those suction cup hickeys on them.
Okay, yeah.
And I'm going to do it like around their neck. And then I'll let their bodies float back to shore. So they're going to get found with these suction cup hickeys all over. And they're going to be like, there's a freshwater octopus attacking people.
As long as I would say the first thing that pops in my mind is even if you were to do like dry land murdering in houses, and the biggest thing is like something, I'm not sure if this would work underwater, but something to the effect of a full body hazmat suit. Because let's say you had dirt or whatever on the bottom of your shoe and you're trying to strangle them with this octopus thing underwater and you put your feet on the back of their back to pull and try to choke. If there's any amount of dirt or anything from the crevices of your shoes that get into the fibers of the thing, you're screwed anyway.
Water's going to wash away most of the evidence.
Most,
theory.
but not all.
True.
So like,
There's no clean way to be a serial killer, I don't think. Which is probably where part of the thrill comes from. You know?
Okay, so the clean way to be a serial killer
Dexter.
is to
Start
kill
the clip
people
now.
who have no connection to you, paper trail or otherwise. My wife used to work at a elderly home, and this could go a lot.
Where is this going?
Yeah.
And they actually on satellite footage found a truck that was in the decorative pond out in the front of the senior home.
Okay.
As it turns out, somebody drunk driving a truck drove it to the pond, went underwater, and just died in the truck. And it had been there for like 3 years or something like that.
And the dude's still in it?
Yeah, he was just dead. Yeah. So
It's crazy.
if
Oh,
you
wait. Yeah,
just
yeah.
hide bodies well, don't do it. Have a plan.
How sad is that? This man died and nobody looked for him.
No, they looked for him. They just had no way to find him. There was no camera showing him go into the river.
Couldn't they just like, if he was driving a truck?
Not the river. The
And you said
pond.
this was the local neighborhood, right?
It was near where my wife grew up.
Okay, so
I
this is
suspect-
this is crazy because I literally just saw like a year or two ago a YouTube short of a sedan that was in a neighborhood pond, and satellites found something, and then someone was like, "Wait a minute, that's my neighborhood," and they contacted authorities and found that there was someone dead in the car in the pond that had been missing for years.
I suspect in both of those situations, I suspect foul play. Because I mean, come on, there's not tire tracks or anything like that. Seems like
Winner.
somebody would snow.
Oh, I
tire
thought he was
tracks.
saying winner. Like, you won. You
Winner.
killed.
You figured it out. I killed them.
Winner. Now you have to die. And everyone listening to the podcast.
I always find that kind of thing interesting, though. Like, the very nuanced, like, how did these people get away with this thing? It's kind of like the pyramids. How did they actually do it? We're still debating that however many years later.
Have you guys seen a map of missing persons in the U.S.?
Compared to like the
No, just a geographical map that shows where all the missing persons, where people went missing.
not
Are they
necessarily no.
mountains?
So yes, so if you follow the Appalachian Trail, it's like a ridiculously high percentage of them are all just along the trail. Like it looks like there's a disease in that part of the country if you have like a dot for each missing person.
Is that like all missing people, or is it just like the missing people that they haven't found?
I think it's people who just went missing they haven't found.
Because I saw once.
It could be runaways too.
There was a map circulating around for a while, and it was missing people map, and then they laid it over a map of the cave systems in the United States, and it like heavily correlated.
Dude.
But then they were like, there was some loophole that they had figured out where it's like it's just the missing people that were never found or something. So it's like a ton of missing people go missing in like cities and stuff, but they get found. So
In the past year, I've watched a lot of Mr. Ballin on YouTube, and the amount of cave stories of people in forest reserves or whatever blocking off caves just because like people go spelunking, which is fine, but then they find like miles or hours down this one route, this one part where you have to hold your breath for an unknown amount of time to get to this like air room, but not everyone knows how to get there in the dark, or not everyone knows how long they can hold their breath, whatever. And then people just are dying there or get stuck there. Like, that's what that reminds me of. And the amount of times that I'm hearing that happens is crazy. But at the same time, I'm like, I kind of want to go.
caving is one of those weird things. It's pretty terrifying to me personally, but
So this could be a total misquote. It could be making this up, and I just dreamt it. Didn't Elon Musk call somebody who was trying to rescue some kids trapped in a cave a pedophile because they wouldn't let him try his mini sub to rescue the kids?
I have not heard of
I
this.
remember something about it, but I don't remember the reason why.
Yeah, like from what I understand, like he like went out there, offered his assistance, they refused, and he just called like the person who's head of the rescue operation like a pedophile.
I feel like I should look this up.
We could actually look it up. We have.
I'll be Jamie from Joe
Jamie,
Rogan, but
pull
on
that
this
up.
one.
Pull that up.
I'll be Carter's Jamie.
I've never heard that one before.
Now just zoom in on
Kenpo,
John's
look it
face
up.
Kenpo.
and like
Check it.
Elon. What should I Google? Elon calling pedophile? I don't know.
Elon calls rescue.
Just
I don't know.
Google Elon cave pedophile.
That's such a weird phrase.
I feel like
This episode's gonna get flagged.
I feel like anything that shows up under that search query is a great podcast topic.
That's fair. What's
Elon
the first
cave
thing?
pedophile.
So Elon cave pedophile. Elon Musk wins defamation case over pedo guy tweet about caver.
Oh wow. That's a
Elon
real
Musk
thing.
apologizes for calling rescue diver a pedophile.
Oh, so it is true.
He called the.
And that was time.com.
How long ago was that? What's
That
the date on the article?
was let me see. That was July 18th, 2018.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that was a minute ago.
That was
5 years
ago.
ago.
But
2018.
it happened.
One of the greatest years that we will
In a
live.
series of tweets Tuesday, the tech billionaire said his comment calling British caver Vern Unsworth a pedo guy was, quote, spoken in anger, Musk wrote.
No, Elon, listen here. I'm just trying to save the children, and I'm gonna dive under the water to save the
Oh,
children.
you know what? Elon.
No, I don't need your robo technology.
Elon saw through the ruse. He was like, well, I can for sure save this kid. My calculations are telling me. And the guy is like, no, I need to keep the kids to myself. And that diver is actually keeping them alive in the cave. And Elon was right. Maybe that's what happened.
Elon hashtag Elon.
That's
was
like one
right.
of those mini comments I always see on every video now on YouTube. It's like there's always that
Elon
one comment.
was right the whole time.
There's always that one comment that goes plot twist : and then just like the most random obscure thing. I feel like that's a plot twist in the YouTube comment section.
Yeah, probably.
And little does the world know, it was right.
So-
Allegedly.
Speaking of the YouTube comment section, make sure to hop on down there and share what you think of this episode so far. If you're on YouTube, thank you.
If you're still even listening.
I feel like this podcast
Facts.
has a really drunk vibe today.
It does. It's okay. It's actually really funny. I'm looking over at you right now, and your pop filter on your mic is like all crooked, and you're just like sitting there with your root beer in one hand and the mic in the other, and you're like, Elon was right, and it was like very drunk looking. It was the most amazing thing.
That's good stuff.
hey, content. It's content.
True. And for the
Content.
record, we have not been drinking anything today other than smoothies, water, root beer.
And
Facts.
depression.
And depression.
We should start an energy drink company.
Podcast.
And we have different, it's like we have different brands of it. So there's depression, and then there's anxiety, and then there's like OCD. And then
I feel like, pop psychology has made it popular enough that those would sell like super well.
especially if we brand it in like a super viral marketing way, social media-y.
Funny
Oh,
little
yeah, yeah, yeah.
cartoons
It's like-
on the packaging too.
If you're depressed, try this one. We've done more citric acid, which will blah, blah, blah. And then if you have
Give you
anxiety,
more canker sores.
And they're all actually just the same. They just have a lot of sugar.
So-
We just claim there's some kind of
Facts.
special formulation.
Facts. Before COVID, one of my old coaches and mentors actually posted something from I think it was Austria or Australia, where a drugstore was getting in trouble because they were selling a medication and they ended up going legally. The court case ended up going toward the medication company. The medication company literally had a medication brand name, but then like 3 or 4 different boxes you could use for 3 or 4 different health issues. They found it, all of it was sugar pill placebo. And my coach said, and he was a hypnotist, he was like, okay, but is it really that bad if there's a 30 to 40% statistical success rate with everyone that buys it over the counter? Even if it's a sugar pill, it proves that their mind works. Like, obviously not good because like you're giving people a certain promise, but isn't that still proof? And shouldn't we still be like teaching that more so in our kind of education? Like, hey, your mind is literally that powerful. You can convince yourself in certain circumstances that these pills, aka your mind, can literally help you with these major issues that you are dealing with. Which I know-
The World Health Organization, owned by esteemed Bill Gates, has an issue with the line of thinking you're going down. You see, that doesn't make them money. It's not a controlled pharmaceutical, and as a result, it has no medical effect on whether or not people get better from any meaningful illness. Keep that in mind, people.
So, in other words, create our own, sell it at high volume, market it the hell out of it, and then say the FDA has not evaluated or approved any of it, and then sell more.
perfect. Sounds like a business plan to me.
Boom. Now, aliens.
They're real. Moving on.
Oh, okay, cool.
I honestly think, because there's so many new like documents coming out, and there's all these military people talking about how like, oh yeah, no, we see this stuff all the time.
Mhm.
And I think what they're doing is they're just slowly not incubating. Is it incubating?
No, I don't think so.
No,
But I know
they're-
what you're trying to say.
They're slowly like indoctrinating the concept of aliens. And I think eventually, I heard something that like in 2025 they're just gonna be like, oh yeah, aliens are real.
They release
And but by that point, because
gates.
they've talked so much about them at this point that it's gonna scare people.
Earlier
less.
this year, they did that whole news coverage of the cop literally coming to the house.
Okay, yeah,
for
the
that
one in Las
UFO
Vegas.
crash,
That
and
one was
then-
crazy.
And so much was going on that the YouTube comment section, which is where I live half the time, they're like, think about this. There's so much going on in the world. We've become so jaded by so many things in everyday modern life, especially with technology and the blah, 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 politics and whatnot, that this has legitimately happened. It's on police footage cam. And we're all just like,
Yeah, whatever.
another
Okay.
day.
That's for those of you who don't know. So in Los Angeles, like in April of this year, I think there was a cop, and he was driving around, and then on his body cam footage, you can look it up. You can see like this big blue, like it kind of looks like a giant shooting star or a meteor just like drop out of the sky, and it's at night, so you can see it drop out. And like he reacts to it, and then they get a call from this kid. I say kid, he's probably like 17, and he's calling the cops, and he's like, something crashed in our backyard, and there's these two beings standing next to it, and they do not look human. They're like really tall. They have like big eyes. And then like the cops show up, and it's the same cop. It's actually not the same cop, but the cop shows up to the house, and they're like explaining it, and there's nothing there at that point, which I think is really interesting. But the fact that like you saw something drop out of the sky, the cops are talking to him, and the cops are taking it seriously.
And the cop actually said, "I wouldn't be here questioning you," or something along the lines of, "I wouldn't be here questioning you." And
if one of my colleagues didn't just see something fall out of the sky. Yeah. And they were kind of spooked by it too. So it's like stuff is happening. It's just like, what is happening? Dunno.
And it's going to be this quiet right after you said that. That's how quiet Big Brother keeps it.
With Steven playing Destiny in the background. It's actually really interesting though, because I think it's Dave Chappelle. He has, oh no, I can't remember. It was somebody. I thought it was Dave Chappelle. He was just talking about how like the way society is right now, where it's like we're constantly hearing about new shootings happening, and we don't have time to like process these disasters as they're happening. It's just like we just jump to the next one. And it's the same thing. It's like we like this stuff that would be huge news. It's like, oh, whatever. We just jump to the next thing, And we don't actually process like, this is crazy. Like this stuff that's going on is wild.
Unless, and here's the funny part, unless you were one of those conspiracy theorists from back in the day, because everything's a conspiracy theory until it's true. And now you're not a conspiracy theorist, you were ahead of your time, but a lot of people tend to disregard and overlook that. But there's the issue with being that kind of person is they know, the average person in society, if you speak out about it to begin with, whether you do actually know something or have an inkling, you are first immediately labeled as, oh, so you got a theory, or, oh, you're one of those people.
Here's my biggest thing with the whole UFO alien thing. There are so many stories. If you just put in that time and energy to research it, there's so many stories, so many videos, so many photos. They cannot all be fake. And most of these people that are talking about like these stories, most of these people who have stories, they don't want to talk about it. And they're not like, it makes no sense to me that that there's nothing going on. There is something going on.
Well, there was that new guy from Congress, or not Congress, but the part of the government.
Well, he was a whistleblower.
The whistleblower, yeah. That is like, in the past like few months, has started coming out and be like, hey, stuff is going down. And in the courtroom, they even said who, what, when, where, why. And he was able to give some details, but then when they started asking about specific who's or specific what's, he would pause and go, I can tell you when we're not on camera.
Which is
after
just
this meeting.
It's just that those are the loopholes that do make me question the whole thing. It's just like I don't know if we're ever gonna know, and it frustrates me that we get so close, and then they're just like, I can't tell you because it's classified.
At the same time, like in this era, I feel like almost any information can be pretty suspect. Like, I mean, back in the day, UFO accounts, like being on the news was like getting viral on TikTok today.
Yep.
So like people who have all these stories, they are rewarded for it either financially or at least socially by getting all kinds of views for their story, stuff like that. So it's like you can say, oh, well, there's too many stories for them all to be fake, but at the same time, it's like, I mean, it's a social contagion.
Here's my best comparison. The woman who played the wife on King of Queens was in Scientology. She's come out about it, made a book about it, talked about it on many talk shows. She literally said that when you go against them, they immediately start having people stalk you, harass you. So if that is Scientology, which is just a cult, and that's not even a government entity, think about the level of nonsense and craziness and anxiety and whatever you're going to have to deal with when dealing at a higher level with a government entity. And then people are like, oh, well, you know, this is kind of suspect. This is kind of suspect. Yeah, but this isn't a cult. This is a government. How many more people work for them?
I think they're smarter than the cult of Scientology.
That's my point.
I think they are influencing technology organizations to, like, if anything's true. So, like, let's not even say aliens. Let's say it's somebody getting murdered, you know, or somebody committing suicide, you know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You're like suicide in air quotes.
Yeah. So Hillary Clinton wants somebody to die. She does political stuff to make it happen. She's involved in government. They influence tech to push more conspiracy theories. Because guess what happens when you have all of these shotgun conspiracy theories out there? It makes the true ones less believable, right? If a woman gets attacked by a man and then 50 stories come out from other women, but they are all ridiculous and have no evidence, suddenly everybody starts to go, well, none of that probably happened. That guy's probably innocent, right? And sometimes he is innocent, but you get what I mean. Smokescreen.
There is validity to that, but I mean, there's still, if you again, you have to put in the time and effort to look into these stories because there's a lot of stuff that validates them. So,
and one of my friends, their friend just got let off because of the fact that the officer who pulled him over immediately turned off their cam, their chest webcam or their whatever cam, and their audio when approaching this person and then trying to arrest and jail them. And then when they went to court and the judge realized that the officer turned off the cam, the judge was like, okay, this is BS. Whatever you're saying he did, you literally have no proof of, and you have a designated cam, so he's walking. So in that sense, that's a very small sense, legally speaking, just to say, if officers are hiding body cam, what else is being hid, though, on a bigger scale?
There's corruption on every level, so it's kind of like, don't know. I think give us a few years, we're going to know a little bit more, I think. But
I think that's the pro of everyone having smartphones, though.
I don't know. We might know even less, though. Like, I feel like as social media, as information becomes more and more fluid, it all just slips through our fingers. Like, what's real, what's not. There's so much misinformation.
I think the biggest thing now, especially, is, and let me know your guys' thoughts, AI.
What about AI?
I don't think it's really a threat because
a threat? What do you mean by threat?
Like, people are just like, AI is gonna, like, did you watch the movie The Creator? I assume probably not, is new.
No.
The whole concept is like, it starts off, it's kind of like the Terminator, where it starts off where like this AI thing supposedly shoots a nuke at LA, and then we're in a war against the artificial intelligence. So like everybody's concerned about stuff like that like AI could do something and then hunt human beings down, kill them all, just like the Terminator. And I've used AI for work, and granted, I just use like the commercial stuff that's out there, like ChatGPT and Midjourney, which is an AI art bot. And I've seen firsthand how hard it is to get it to give you the thing you want it to give you. It's not as smart as people think it is, but I know that there's more out there that I don't have access to. That's more serious.
It's a glorified chatbot, so it's like it's more advanced than the chatbots that we had in the early 2000s, but it's still, it's limited. It's
in infancy.
It's nothing
it's
to
a
worry
proof
about
of concept,
right
though.
now,
but the thing is, technology is so rapidly progressing compared to any other time in history ever.
It's true.
Singularity, yeah.
Especially like with AI being able to actually learn on its own. So
did you hear about the Google thing?
Will you explain?
So Google created an AI years ago. Like, I think this was like between 2012 and 2016. They created their own AI. The AI literally quickly, within, I think it was either weeks or months, got so smart and learned so much from everything it had learned technologically. It created its own AI and world for that AI within itself, and Google had to shut the whole project down. That happened 7-ish years ago. So when people are just like, oh yeah, well, like, I understand things like AI, for example, like generator, like ChatGPT or like imagery or whatever, it's in its infancy. But if Google could create something like that and then didn't release that information until at a later point, it's kind of like, I relate it to like government war stuff, which is like, we have these cool weapons, we have this cool technology, but all this is realistically stuff that the government and military had years beforehand. We're just now getting it because now they can make money off of it because they learned how to. So it's like, if that stuff happened and then they released it, what is going on now behind the scenes that they're not telling about us that we won't learn for like another 3 to 6 years? That's where my mind's always at, personally. So I'm like, that shit was crazy. What's going on right now, though? Because we don't know.
This is swiftly becoming like a truther podcast.
Was it ever not?
I just think it's interesting.
It is. You know, there's a lot of stuff going on, a lot of interesting advancements. Have hey, if AI can help us figure out how to beat cancer, which I think maybe there's a decent chance. Like I've never heard anybody talk
I
about
thought we've
that
already
before.
done it though.
That's the thing.
And
I
then
don't
they
know.
then they
They
like
keep-
scrapped it.
They keep like killing the people who fix stuff, you know? You got the guy who made the water-based car, killed him. You got these dudes figuring out how to cure cancer. I've heard like half a dozen stories of these doctors who get like shut down or disappear after supposedly learning how to cure it. And it's just like
Or paid off or whatever. Yeah.
we are as a human species hopeless, I think, to beat some of this stuff because we're just too greedy.
Well, I think that comes down highly to I want to be the devil's advocate in the sense of saying, as much as I love my country, I think it's a very capitalistic thing because if it doesn't make them money, and what makes them money is making us sick and keeping us sick in some way, shape, or form.
Could you throw me a pillow?
Which sounds very political, but think about it. If we cure cancer, there's no if we cure all these things, where's the money in them for penicillin or medication over the counter or prescribed or any of that? Like there is so much money that gets lost. Kind of like if we take everything and we go hemp, there's so much stuff that goes out of business with the non-hemp stuff. Then.
When's the last time we heard of like a billionaire dying of cancer?
Case in point.
What's his
I
face?
feel like it would be all over the news, right?
Well, didn't the guy who hosted it's that really classic everything's blue, what is blah
Me too.
Jeopardy.
Like what?
Jeopardy. The
Jeopardy.
guy who hosted Jeopardy.
Everything's
He
blue?
died from like liver cancer, pancreatic cancer.
He's
or
not a
something.
billionaire.
He's a celebrity though.
Not a billionaire though.
Okay, but how many billionaires are there actually in the world?
Let's see.
Google.
A few hundred, thousand maybe.
I mean, cancer is common,
How
but
many
it's
billionaires are there in the world?
still not necessarily like that kind of common. It's possible that they just don't get it. 'Cause
Whoa.
how many?
Or they
In the 35th annual Forbes list of the world's billionaires, the list included 2,755 billionaires.
That's
what
not
percentage of
a
people
lot.
get
That's
cancer?
more than I thought it was, though.
Yeah, look up what percentage of the population gets cancer.
What percentage of the population gets cancer?
It might make sure it gives you world population.
I was going to say, because it immediately said 1 in 2 people will develop some form of cancer during their lifetime. Someone
Well,
here is-
everybody has cancer
Two
cells
of
in their
us might be.
bodies at different points. But yeah, most of the time your body's able to correct them before they ever become a problem.
for information purposes only, consult your doctor. But 50%, y'all dead.
So half of those billionaires should be dying of cancer, and they're not.
So you said world population.
Sus.
Sus.
How much of the world's population gets cancer? Same answer.
Okay, it's interesting. I don't know. That's a good point. Maybe
That
they
seems
do
really
just.
high, personally, I think.
I think there's. I don't know. I mean,
1 and 2?
even the stem cell stuff is like.
So what is that? I keep hearing it, but I don't actually know what it is.
I don't think we're that educated
We're
on.
not, we're not. All I know though,
Okay.
what I do know though, is that it's an effective way to treat some stuff like joint pain and
Oh,
like
yeah.
if you need to regenerate parts of your not parts of your body, but like ligament or something like that. It's a really effective way to do it. And it was illegal in the United States for a while, and I don't know if it still is or not.
Well,
But the point is that it works and it's available outside of the US.
specifically,
So I think it's possible to think that maybe there is like a way to like cure cancer that's just available outside of our bubble of reality.
specifically embryonic.
That sounded so stupid.
Stem cells have been like lambasted by certain parts of the public because of the idea that
I'll be right
the
back.
harvesting of those embryonic stem cells may kill embryos, like babies.
Yeah.
So
But they have other, which actually it doesn't though. I think they get it from like the
I
placenta
heard
or
that,
something.
but I don't know enough to know what the full on of why certain people disagree
Right.
with it.
Right. Yeah, I don't know either. But
We don't know.
we don't.
That's the caveat. Just have a little subtitle appear whenever we say something. We don't really know.
We should have put that at the beginning of the episode. We don't.
Yeah.
We're just
Pissing in the wind on the moon.
yep. If
Yep.
if you do you think it's possible? Do you think there's enough gravity on the moon if you Okay, this is a disgusting question. So skip ahead like 30 seconds if you
I
want to
love
skip
how
it.
we start a podcast and you turn into like, I wonder if what.
Listen,
It's
it's
like a-
entertaining.
I
So,
guess. I mean,
okay, you're on the moon. You're a man. You lay on your back on the moon's surface and you pee straight up into the air. Is there enough gravity to pull the pee back down, or does it just shoot off into space?
yes, because if you jump straight up as high as you can, you will still come down in the moon.
Yeah, it's not. The whole mass thing doesn't play into this though, does it? Because you have more mass than your pee does. So does your pee have?
So if I pee on Earth, my pee has less mass than I do. Does it just fly up into space?
That's a good point. But if you pee into the wind's going to blow your pee. It doesn't blow you.
There's no wind on the moon.
This is true, but there is mass and gravity. This is the most stupid. I've said the most stupid things I've ever said in my life within the last 30 seconds.
Oh, bummer, I
Sorry.
missed it.
I don't think people come here for the educated Neil deGrasse Tyson takes on
So
space.
there were an estimated 18.1 million cancer cases around the world in 2020.
How
And
many?
there's
Say that again.
Like
There
7,
were 18.1 million cancer cases around the world in 2020.
so like 1 in 500,000 of world population, something like that.
Don't ask me math. I don't know.
Because there's like 8 billion people now.
That's crazy.
Of these, 9.3 million cases were in men and 8.8 were in women.
More men get cancer?
More men, according to this, back in 2020.
Well, there's more men in the world probably because China is a massive percentage of the population, and they had limited
Yeah, they limited the whole
limited the-
children thing.
things, and to carry on your name, you would just
That reminds
Your
me of like
daughters, and
YouTubers
then
that
you
like
would-
sneak into what was that country you're not supposed to sneak into? North or South Korea?
North Korea.
That reminds me of like I saw a YouTuber that was like trying to do it and then they couldn't. But like I think me and you talked like weeks or months ago about like covertly like how do you get into somewhere you're not supposed to be?
North Korea is a place I don't want to get into.
there was
Have you heard some of the stories? It's crazy.
No.
You talk about like if you have a Bible, you're dead. If you talk about the Bible, you're dead. If you talk about anything against the dictator, you're dead. Like it is hardcore. It is, and like their doctors and stuff over there that you have access to as a normal citizen are like horrible. Like the living conditions are insanely bad.
There's a U.S. soldier, I think, who defected to North Korea.
I think I saw that he like ran across the border or something.
Yeah, I'm looking it up right now.
I think I saw that video. He's like running away from his people and then he like crawled and someone got him.
He's like, you know what? This country's too nice to people. Kim Jong-un, I'm coming.
Oh, maybe
No.
that wasn't. I don't remember. I just remember a soldier like trying to escape one of the countries and then running across the border and getting drugged by someone of that country.
A statement reported by the state-run news agency King. So the guy's name is Travis T. King. He's an Army private. He illegally intruded into North Korean territory because he was disillusioned about the inhumane treatment and racial discrimination in the Army, as well as inequality existing within the U.S. So, you want to get political, you're in the Army, you want out, just defect to North Korea. Seems probably worked out great for this guy.
Or be Edward Snowden. Go to Moscow?
I think, okay, you want to talk about a country with secrets? Russia is so big. I think there's some crazy stuff up there that we just have no idea about.
In Russia?
It's just like the size of the country, and there's so much. I don't know. I think there's some crazy stuff. Like we talk about Bigfoot in the United States. I think they got some crazy stuff up there.
Well, we have Florida guy in the U.S. Imagine what they have in Russia.
They have Moscow Man.
we got Florida guy, and my internet ad says that the Russian women dating sites are just waiting me to email them. We got Florida guy. That's what we got. Good job, America. But I still haven't gotten any of the Russian ladies to contact me, so maybe it's a scam. I don't know.
Well, speaking of ladies contacting us,
Oh,
so
yeah.
today at the climbing gym,
This was incredible. Wild.
Carter and us we were just there hanging out, climbing.
Yeah, we were climbing.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
Working on a route. Took
You
me
were
a couple
working on
tries.
the working
Carter
on the
was
blue
scoping
one.
out this babe,
And by babe, we
He's
mean
been-
like a V3 route.
He's been going
Blue
to the
holds.
the gym on the regular just to catch a glimpse,
I've gone like,
socially work his way into her life.
no.
I don't know if you ever met her before. Actually, this girl walks up to him.
She rented me shoes once. She always asks, what kind of shoe do you get? And I'm like,
She's an employee.
the
by
blue
way.
ones. I don't know.
So Carter was harassing an employee at the climbing.
No, she harassed me, as the story will show. Emotionally harassed.
I'm sitting down, and Taylor walks up on Carter's right side. Carter's in the middle, chalking his hands up, looking at the shirt. I'm like, dude, you got it. One more time. Final time. You got this. And she comes up behind him, and I look at her, and she's smiling at the back of his head. Goes, oh, where are you going for? And he goes, that blue one. And she's like, I don't know what she say. Like, oh yeah,
She
that's
says,
a rough one.
I don't like those holds or something like that.
And then I turn toward the wall to point, and I'm like, yeah, it's like that one especially is just like. And then Taylor, you're just like Carter, and like you point, and like I turn and I look, and she's like
Just gone.
15, 20 feet away, just walking. I'm in the middle of a sentence. We're just having a conversation as two human beings, and she just like bails.
And he immediately slumps over. In my mind, I just see him in my eye slump over, just at a loss, and all I see is black and white. And then I hear, "Hello, darkness, my old friend."
It wasn't even like I told you guys. I didn't even have time to like register that I was in a conversation with somebody, and then all of a sudden the person I was having a conversation with just walked
Talking to
away.
yourself.
It was incredible.
I just love that like you came and immediately sat down. You're just like you sat down and you're just like, huh. And then Taylor's here, I'm here, and we both look at each other. We're like, aw.
Yeah, that was we all leaned into it. It was great.
That was a bonding moment.
It's in the top 10 of my human interactions over my 25 years of life.
It was probably the most brutal rejection I've seen.
It wasn't even a rejection. It was just rude. It was.
That's what I was saying. Yeah, I was trying not to yell it though, because I was just like, that was pretty. Like she initiated it. You immediately started talking. So in my mind, I was like, she's gonna at least be courteous and just chill there and listen. And be like, yeah, well, good luck, and go about her way. And then you're looking at that, Carter. You're looking at either him or the root, and I just see her go, and I'm just like, quiet, but are you kidding me?
Well,
and then I look
Carter
at Taylor.
was looking at her when he started to reply to what she had said, and then turned to look at the wall.
As one does when they're talking to a human
they
being.
made eye contact, disconnected to look at the wall and point as an example of what he was talking about, and she's just gone.
It was insane. It was.
She found her out.
So what we're getting from this for you, Carter, for the future, with women,
Don't
maintain eye contact.
Don't
guess.
stop looking at
I will
them.
never break eye contact with another human being as long as I live. Don't leave me, please.
That's how you should open up every interaction. Intense eye stare and
No blinking.
don't leave me, please. And then the topic of conversation.
Yep.
If that freaked you guys out, well, congratulations. Now you know what to expect with Carter.
So John here has quite the opposite problem. Wherever we go,
Women flock to him.
somehow, and regardless of their age,
Men too.
that sounds bad.
That does sound bad.
He strikes up conversation, or they strike up with him. Just a long conversation, all sorts.
When does the
He
last
has a
time
way.
that happened?
I feel like we go to like a grocery store, and the cashier is like flirting with you.
Oh, cool.
I think, Kenpo's just a flirty person in general. That's just how he rolls.
That is true.
Everybody has that friend who's just flirty by nature.
Tops the field just about every time
Which
I walk
is
past
hilarious because I used to have
on
like,
me, not women.
crippling social anxiety. So I guess I feel almost kind of crappy about that now because like I know I always kind of like internally I'm like about the women who are like clearly like you said, like the one girl at the gym, like someone who talks in such a way that sounds like they're just kind of nice but flirty with everyone. I never really intentionally mean to be that way, but every other time I'm with Taylor and he's with me, it seems like we're in a situation. He goes, so he's either like, oh, so you know that girl, or so seemed like she might be interested. I'm like, what? And then we have this weird silence.
That's a thing. Men and women are on insanely different wavelengths, where it's to the point where us men generally don't understand when a woman is flirting.
I think my thing is, I know I've learned with my job because for backstory for everyone watching, I started my career in magic. I very quickly transitioned to hypnosis, and I had crippling social anxiety.
Here we go. 3 businesses at home. Yep.
And
Wait, hold on. I don't mean to cut you off, but this makes me really curious. Carter, you are John. Continue his whole explanation. Like an actual like full like what John is about
Well,
to
I
say.
actually wasn't listening that close, so I don't know where he was
Okay,
going with it.
John's just begun to open up and sort of give a little bit about his backstory. So you're gonna attempt to.
So when I went to Catholic school, I talked to one of the people about like hypnotism because like it was one of the women who worked there. I forget what they're called. What are they called? What? And she was like,
Nuns?
It's like a tool. It's okay as long as you don't use it for evil. It's not a spiritually wrong thing. So then,
And I'm Carter. That's great.
and
John.
I would be an atheist.
That's great.
That's
but,
facts.
And then
that right there was facts.
I would be an atheist, but I actually had this out of body experience. I talked about it on my friend's podcast.
So hilariously, none of what I was gonna say.
You didn't mention Gary Vee.
Oh,
Kenpo doesn't talk about Gary Vee much.
Gary
He
Vee.
talks about Gary Vee every
that
time
was
I
back
see
in the
him. Just
day.
kidding.
Back in the day, I was very hard on Gary Vee. But no, I was just gonna say like I used to be really bad with socializing, so I just learned how to like grocery store. Oh, you're looking at like a soda to buy, and I would make a comment in the moment that feels right and makes sense in the moment. I just used situational dynamics, and I think that Taylor just assumes I'm trying to flirt and get everyone's number, even though that's only the case 20% of the time.
So you're just trying to like make conversation with people.
Yeah, because
By,
I found out if you're not in the first 30 seconds, when this
If
is
you
true,
talk
if you
to
get
people, they like you.
Generally
if you
true.
talk to someone, but you also make them feel good about their decision, and or everyone's favorite word in the world in their vocabulary is their name. So if you learn someone's name and you just make something conversationally nice, like pleasantries, I think is what it's called, within the first 30 seconds, and you can say something that's funny but also relatable to their situation, regardless if you want them or not, they automatically kind of like you a little bit more. But if you actually want to flirt with them, that actually kind of opens the doorway. I just don't generally automatically think I want to flirt with you unless, you're the girl that's ignoring Carter at the gym. I had respect for you until you did that.
Okay,
Bye.
okay. Again, you keep saying this like it was a flirty interaction. I did not have interest at this point. I'm fairly confident she did not have interest as she
Doth
walked
protest
away.
too much.
Maybe she looked at me and she thought, oh, maybe he has an Australian accent. That'd be cool. And then as soon as I start talking, she's like, nope, I'm out. And then just pew.
Yeah, it definitely was like she initiated conversation for some reason. Maybe it was just being friendly, but she just cut it off so abruptly. It makes me wonder, did she think he was a better climber and if she wasn't impressed by the route that we were working on?
Excuse me, love. I think you meant me. I'm the Australian one. What do you have a question for? I'm from Perth, Australia. What do you want now?
It sounds a little bit more British, but I'll take it. It's hot. So, okay.
I just turned
Oh,
Carter
no.
on. Great.
We're going
you
down
guys want to talk about like things to say to people to get them to like you. You want the way to my heart.
I'm married. I don't need this.
Just encourage me and tell me like you can do it. Like it's gonna be okay, sort of thing. People don't actually do that. I was watching.
Not for guys, I feel like.
I was watching Scrubs, and is it Michael J. Fox? Who's the guy from Back to the Future?
Yeah.
Michael J. Fox. He's a doctor.
Mhm.
He has
he's
Tourette's, or not Tourette's, Parkinson's.
OCD.
No, he has Parkinson's.
Yeah,
in
Parkinson's.
real life.
That's why he
Yeah.
stopped acting. Yeah.
Okay, in the episode he has OCD, but there's part of it, and he's just like, it's a really great moment between him and the other doctor, Elliot, and he's just like, if you're trying to do something in life and your brain is throwing up roadblocks, just remember you can drive right through them. And there was something about it, like after the episode, I mean, I was dealing with some stuff mentally at that point, but it was like an hour later and I just got really emotional. I just like went and cried in my room, and it's just like imagined like somebody saying something like that to me. And it was like, people don't say this stuff. People don't encourage each
I
other.
feel like they don't with men. It's a very societal thing, especially in American society. I feel like if you post something, and I see one of my siblings do this a lot, if you post something, she's female, she gets an enormous amount of love and respect and report and memes and this and that, and even text messages and likes and whatever. But it doesn't seem to be as popular for guys unless, and I hate to say this, but it's what I've seen, unless you're someone who's really popular and or really attractive that everyone loves. It's like it doesn't just seem to be something that a lot of us are doing and helping with guys in society.
See though, I'm not talking about like just pure attention.
That's what I'm saying though.
It's just like a meaningful, heartfelt, like just word of encouragement.
That's the issue. That's what I'm saying. It's like it doesn't seem to be a very, for some reason or another, a natural thing for a lot of society to just give men, but people are happy to do that with women.
I think people often attribute a problem solver or fixer role to men. And so if you're creating a problem or you're bringing up a problem that you have in your life, your utility can disappear in certain social circles. Now, this is gradually getting into like a hope core type thing, like, but there is some truth to that for sure, I think.
I also heard that, and I heard a YouTube short of a guy who the whole YouTube short was him joking, "Hey, gentlemen, I learned today whether or not you're married. If you're talking to a woman and she comes to you about a problem, you immediately have to respond. Is this a listen to me problem, or is this a I need a solution problem? There is a difference. And if you ask, oh my God, gentlemen, the respect they have for you shoots through the roof because apparently they don't want a solution to anything. They just want you to hear them talk about everything."
It's accurate for me too. Sometimes I just need somebody to listen.
Yeah. But I think it's funny that I know that, and I've seen that in myself. When any guy or girl, they come to me and people are like, I have a problem. My automatic instinct is like, all right, immediately, creatively, what can I think to help you? And they're like, why are you trying to fix everything? I'm like, I'm not trying to fix everything, but you came to me.
Here's a take on that. I think that a lot of people have like a bit of a control issue. And I'm the same way. Again, like if somebody starts talking to me, like I don't know actually how to love the person and just like listen and be there for them. Instead, I'm like, okay, how can like I be a part of this? And how can like I fix this sort of thing? And it's just like, you don't have to fix everything.
I think that goes with Don Ruiz. I think it's Don Ruiz. He's an author. He in his book of 4 Agreements. One of the biggest agreements is either ask questions, don't assume anything, or just don't assume anything. And then the subtext is ask questions. So in that sense, and that's why I liked that phrase I started this section with, which is when they come to you with something, ask, is this a listen to me problem, or is this a, solve it problem? Because there's a lot of variations of that in life. I have to find myself mentally always just jumping into one assumption. I'm having to now in this part of my life, like, slow down, John, chill, don't say anything yet. Think about this. Now ask and stop assuming what they want, because I realize I'm wrong about that so much and I want to be helpful. And if that means I don't have to do anything, great, I'll listen to you. That's no skin off my back. Talk. Because that's very therapeutic, whether or not you're in actual therapy. Some of us, especially guys, we just need to talk. Because I don't feel like a lot of us have the most people to talk to. Like right now, if you had something really going on, who's the first 2 or 3 people you think of that you could comfortably open up to about anything right now?
Like, is that a real question?
Yeah. And that's the thing. If we're having to think about it, now, granted, Taylor, I'm guessing your wife, maybe, but I could be wrong. Carter, I know that me and you've talked about that. Sometimes you're like, we go through stuff and we're just like, but we're not always having that immediate one, let alone 2 or 3 people in our mind. We're just like, we're gonna fester in it for a bit.
Which is weird because like there's people that I can do that with. Like I could go to my parents, I could go to my best friend Graham. There's a handful of adults that I know that I can go to. And so it's like there's people there, but there's for some reason, I don't know if it's like I think I'm bothering them or there's something, and maybe it's just some embarrassment too about maybe whatever it is.
That's fair.
Do you guys know what Sonder is? So Sonder is the like full conceptualization of the idea that everyone else is the main character in their own story, and they are all going through just as much as you are. They're more worried about their own problems than they are about yours and such. And I think it's one of those things where we can conceptualize Sonder. We understand that, we're not the only island in the sea, but we don't always fully apply that concept to the way we operate in life. Because if I think I have this problem at home, I need to talk to somebody about it, or I don't not automatically think that, first of all. But even if I did, I assume that like, oh, well, they probably are sick of hearing about this kind of thing from me because I mentioned something 6 months ago. And so Carter's sick of me talking about how I haven't accomplished my goals.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But in reality, Carter doesn't even remember the last time, or maybe he fondly remembers it, and maybe he has some experience in his story, his life, that actually would help with this. And if you apply that to the way you think about other people, you start to have more human interactions.
See, though, the thing is there's people I know who talk to me about the same thing that they're struggling with a lot. And it actually, I catch myself just like slowly caring less and less. And so I'm like, if I'm doing that with people, I know other people are doing that with me. And I've seen it. Because I mean, I used to like be I used to overshare, I think, with people. And like I would just dump on people. And I could see it over the course of time that they would just like slowly, people who really cared about me, slowly just like not lose interest, but just like they kind of stopped giving, like talking back about it or stuff like that. So it's kind of like,
And I think
Well, here,
yeah.
This is something I have to counter that I think is something I need to keep in mind. Just because the quality of somebody's attention to you is decreasing over those repetitions of talking about a problem second, third, fourth time, because if they're your best friend, they're going to hear about it a few times over the course, especially of a couple of years. They might hear about the same thing 20 times. Even if the quality of that attention is decreasing, it does not mean how much they care about you is decreasing. It's like a human nature thing where like you can't always be giving the best quality attention at all times. Like,
Yeah. I mean, that's true, but at a certain point, it is just
it
kind of
doesn't
like,
feel good.
I mean, if I'm being completely honest, there's times where people are sharing things with me, and I'm like, we've talked about this a million times. Like, just like,
do the thing.
stop, do the thing. Stop worrying about it. Do
That's
whatever.
I literally just told my mom today, now that I got approved to start consulting, I have to stop. And this is what I meant, part of what I meant earlier when I said I have to stop myself in the moment. I get really frustrated when people don't just do stuff. Like, you can talk a lot. Everyone talks. Everyone
Mhm.
thinks.
Yeah.
Very few people do. And I'm like, I'm not here to consult you to brainstorm for the next year. Let's brainstorm for a day or a week and then freaking do anything. Just do something. And so many people don't do. And I get so easily frustrated by that. And I don't know if either you or Taylor can relate to this, but like, I feel like part of it is like my ADHD is like, I'm very much, I have to do. I have to go, I have to do, I have to accomplish, I have to something, because otherwise I know I'm not doing what I could be doing. And I don't want to be that guy personally, because I've done exactly what you're talking about. I've talked about certain things so much that I've either completely stopped talking about it or I'm just doing it now, because I don't want to be the guy that just continues talking about it, because that's annoying as hell.
Yeah. I mean, I identify with it. I got really, I think part of it is some of us have really high expectations on ourselves, and then we place those expectations on other people too. So like for me, like if I'm going to go to the gym and I'm like, I'm going to work out, then I have a really high expectation for myself to like go to the gym, 4 times a week or whatever I'm trying to do. And if I miss it, I'm hard on myself. And then when I see other people like, yeah, I'm going to work out, I'm going to do this, then I'm going to hold them to those same standards. And that's actually like learning how to let go of that kind of perfectionism for yourself is huge, because then that transfers over to other people and you're allowed to give them more grace too. And it's kind of like from the Christian perspective, that's where the whole accepting the love of God and accepting the grace he has for you and accepting who you are to him and realizing like it's not actually about the things that I can do. It's about him. It's about the relationship that I have with him. It's about bringing him glory. And it's like, it's this weird thing that's very backwards compared to how the world operates and compared to how we normally operate, where it's like, I have to do stuff to have value. And so I have to have this really high expectation on myself. And if I miss it, then I just don't have value. But if you're able to let go of that, it actually frees you up to, I think, live like a whole lot better of a life.
So during my best friend's wedding, I remember I opened up and started crying during one of my speeches, because I said that I had been admitting I had admitted stuff to him earlier in the year that I hadn't even told my mother, who was like the closest person in my life. Eventually I did tell her, but I was like, but it wasn't until that moment that I trusted him as much as I do now in my entire life, because he went to college as a Catholic and then he lived a wild lifestyle. It was almost like the Amish. Like, he was living like, the Catholic lifestyle, and then he just went Rumspringer, but he was in his 20s. And then he became born again. And then I felt like he became super judgy. And so I would only open up to him about certain things. And then eventually I had a really, really just emotional, and even as a spiritual person, not religious, I'd say soul searching moment where I was like, something's not okay and I need to tell someone that I trust. And I went to him, I sat him down, I'm like, hey dude, here's all the shit I've been doing that I know I shouldn't be doing, that is horrible for me. No one knows, and I'm telling you now. And by the way, congratulations on the wedding you're about to have. But I was like, boom. And he just goes, wow, thank you. And then just like accepted me. And it was the first time in a very long time. And I told him, I was like, that's the first time I feel like you've heard me and actually accepted me. And that's part of the issue. And I think this is kind of an interesting branch off. We don't have to go actually branch off of it, but that's part of the reason as a former Catholic, I left the community, because if I said anything like I told him or told my community the career path I was choosing, they distanced themselves from me. And I had a hard time respecting that, because that's not love. That's not acceptance. And I was like, I want that. I deserve that as a human being. And so I think that is very hard to obtain. And I myself am now having to learn how to like love and accept people, you know, professionally, let alone personally. And like, how do you take yourself out of it and be there for them? Just listen, but also help if they need to. It's very difficult. I feel like it's a challenging balancing act.
Taylor, do you have anything to say? I see you thinking. I have something that I can say.
I'm just thinking. I'm thinking a million miles about an hour about a lot of stuff. But
I'll give a little bit of pushback on one of the things you said, which is, like, I deserve love and acceptance as a human being. That's the interesting thing about Christianity and the gospel, is that according to the gospel, like, we as humans have sinned, so we've gone against God by default. So we deserve, like the Bible says, the wages of sin. So the result of going against God, like we've done, is death. And if you read into the Bible, it's like eternal damnation, separation from God, sort of thing. And not just eternally, but also in life. That's what we deserve according to the Bible. But because God loved us, he gives us grace when we receive him.
I think I meant to say respect. Would that be more?
I guess. I think that's like a general thing for humans, is that, again, I don't know about the word deserve, but it's definitely something that we should, that's like a basic human courtesy.
That's what I'm saying.
Respect,
that's what I think that's what I meant to communicate, is like, that's what I was feeling like I deserved, but I didn't feel like I would get that from the people I was initially told I'd be welcome to come to talk to about things.
Right. And I mean, that's kind of what I'm saying, is that, like, if...
Yeah, in a culture that talks about, you know, love and acceptance, and then experiencing a form of rejection from that, that's, I think, what you were feeling at the time.
Yeah.
Especially when the claim, I feel like every church claims that, you know, we love you and accept you, or our God loves you, you know, even if they don't talk about acceptance as much.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it definitely feels like a massive disconnect, and you know, a spit in the face. Well, why am I not accepted when I start talking about something that's not a little non-traditional or a little bit outside of the norm? And it's always interesting hearing you talk about the Catholic Church and stuff. My dad actually was Catholic, had a similar experience to you, but like the environment that me and Carter grew up in, we didn't see a lot of that. At least I didn't. I don't know about you.
What do you mean a lot of that?
A lot of, like, you can't ask questions, or you can't do something non-traditional. But part of that may have been because we were in sort of a weird offshoot with sort of homeschool.
I was going to say, I was in homeschool.
I was in a bubble. I wasn't like, it wasn't like, I felt free to ask questions and stuff like that, but I was in a bubble, so I didn't feel the need to ask questions because there was nothing challenging my worldview. And then once I started growing up and stuff challenged it, and even now, like, life circumstances are just like challenging what I always thought was true. Now I'm asking questions, and now it like is actually leading to more freedom.
I realized back in the day, I blindly believed.
A lot of people do.
I just, because I was like, okay, well, my parents are adults. Adults don't lie. Santa's real, of course. And because adults don't lie, everything they say is true. And if God is real, because they say he's real, then he's real. And if all this stuff that they're saying needs to be done or is real, point blank period, that is what it is, just because they say it is. And now it's really interesting to watch, like, younger generations go into high school, and then from high school into college, and see them develop truly their own personalities and their own persons. And think back, like, that used to be me, because now I think back that I don't think I had the perspective of, am I thinking for myself, honestly? Probably until senior year of high school when I studied Scientology. I was like, this shit cray. Okay. And then I literally walked down the night I finished the project, and my father said, "So when can we expect you to join Scientology?" I'm making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. I go, "Oh, when I'm dead." So I was like, that's great. But then I went from there to college, and that was the first time it wasn't a Catholic community in my life. And I'm around all kinds of people from all kinds of backgrounds, and I start questioning things and going back to some of my community, and my community is like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "I'm coming to you, asking you questions about this, that, and the other thing." They're like, and here's the thing. We were allowed some questions, but I realized, at least in the communities I lived in, I say communities because I moved a lot growing up. In the Catholic community, it wasn't so much necessarily frowned upon, but it was very clear that you started irritating certain fathers and sisters with either nuanced questions or the same thing over and over again if you truly didn't deeply understand it, but you were trying to figure it out. And that's what I didn't like, is like, you weren't always like, "No, stop asking questions," but it was like, "Okay, you need to move on." Why? Just move on. That doesn't help me. And they're like, "If you need to keep going down this road, that's not good." Why is it not good? Stop asking questions.
That's like that's a really big thing. I think that's bigger in the Catholic Church, and the more traditional, not just Catholic, the more traditional religious circles is just like, this is tradition. It's what we've always believed, and we believe it by faith. So we don't ask questions. And I think that's a thing. But I'm very culturally, like, I'm still in a bubble, so I don't really know what I'm saying.
I think you're a little bit too hard on your background in a way. I think everybody's in a bubble. I mean,
it's true.
These diverse environments that people grow up in, like, sometimes those are just another bubble of a different type.
I mean, I don't think I'm being negative. I just think genuinely, like, I was in a bubble where my worldview wasn't challenged.
I think that what I liked about what you said, though, is the fact that traditional, you said things are traditional. This is how it is because it's traditional. Because that literally reminded me of our martial arts black belt test a month ago. And we were in the middle of the test. I was in line next to, I think, Elijah. And I felt so good about this, about myself, because I messed up. He goes, "Do the U punch." And a ton of us, I'm gonna try to do this to make sure it's right on camera angle, but a ton of us were standing there, and then we just went like that, like at this angle. And then we all did that like 3 or 4 times. And Dad was like, "Stop, yoy." And we're like, "What?" We didn't say what, we're like, we stopped and went and yoy. And he goes, "When we say U punch," and then in the moment during the test, in front of all the parents and the other judges, he literally retaught the U punch as it would be applicable in a real fight. And he goes, "We don't do the leaning over and the arm over the da-da-da." He goes, we do that in class because it's traditional." And then he pauses and goes, "Why is it traditional? I don't know, but we do it." And then he goes right back into it. And I respected that because he called it out.
Yeah.
As where going back to the actual just religious stuff is like, I wasn't okay with the fact that things weren't being called out by the people, but if we called it out, they'd either be dismissive or they'd answer to a degree, but then get irritated. So thank you for, that's just a nuance.
It's a little teeny bit of a subject change, but it's sort of related. So I feel like in the friend group that we're in, we're kind of like a trio from our school, like almost like the equivalent of the same class. I mean, there's some differences in how long we've been there, but as far as people who still kind of like consider ourselves part of that school, we're decently close friends. And there might be a few people who sometimes interject into that friend group, but like, at least for us three, we keep up semi often, right?
Thanks to your fires.
Thanks to my campfires. Yeah. So I feel like opening up a little bit. I think a lot about my friends and the way they think and their backstories because I was taught to be extremely critical growing up. So Carter was talking about feeling like in some aspects he was in a little bit of a bubble. And I think the reason I didn't experience that is because my mom taught me to be critical of everything, which sounds so great and so golden. Like, oh yeah, you have the right opinion all the time. You're always thinking things through. I think as I'm getting older, and this is just me opening up, I feel like I'm starting to see some of the negative side of that. It's like, yeah, like I was able to ask questions. I was encouraged to ask questions, but I was also encouraged to challenge everything, which makes me very critical of myself, also other people, which I didn't realize until I was older. But one area that I've been thinking about recently is just how it's hard to know what I really want because of that. Because everything's evaluated on a logical logos basis, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And you've trained that critical thinking and that as put on a pedestal growing up, right? So something I feel or something that I might want to do is tuned out so much growing up that it's like, how do you even figure out what you want anymore? You stop feeling things at certain points. Like, not that this is like a big therapy session or anything, but
It's real.
it is interesting to think about that and how that's affected me and where I'm at. And
That's a real bubble pop right there, is when you realize the way my parents raised me and their advice is not bulletproof.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's something, like you said, you grow up, my parents are always right, yada, yada. You don't really question it. And it's like at a certain point, you learn the hard way or not. Like, they actually are human beings just like me. And the fact they got me this far is kind of crazy. So
Pog, agree.
but it's not, they're not bulletproof.
My parents were the best I could have possibly asked for. I wouldn't want to be any different. They still fucked me up.
Vibes. And that earned the explicit sticker for certain, but that's okay.
I mean, I feel like I'm using that word for emphasis because it's like everybody talks about, oh, my parents did this, I hate them. It's like no matter how you're raised, you're going to have certain tendencies that make life harder, right? You need to figure out that, navigate that. That's adulthood.
I think it's also it's interesting because this is reminding me of a story which relates to my life a lot, which is the story of the guy, of the reporter or the whatever who went to. Are we still recording? Yep. Okay. The story of the reporter who went to these two guys. I think they're like young or middle-aged men, and the one man is rich and wealthy, and he said, how did you get this way? He goes, well, my father was a drunk. He was abusive. What else was I supposed to do? And then he goes to his brother, who's a drunk, a low-life deadbeat, not doing anything, doesn't have a job, living off, whatever. And the reporter said, what's going on with you? And he goes, well, my dad was a drunk. He was abusive. What else was I supposed to do? Same upbringing, different outcomes. And I know that, like, for me, I just asked my mom the other week about this. She goes, growing up, you and your sister was always not in the spotlight, but like trying to get attention. You were in the spotlight, but you didn't want any attention. You were very quiet and introverted. She was very extroverted or out there. And now it's interesting because I was telling her how, my sister goes on social media and she's like, send me love, send me memes, send me something to feel good. I don't have a good day. And I don't really use social media for personal reasons anymore. Like if I need something like that, I'm like, hey, Taylor, hey, Carter, hey, someone, I'm going to text you, or, I communicate that way. So it's interesting how like we had the same not so great father growing up, and we have very similar neurological conditions despite being male and female, but she's very, I would say, is my own sister. She's very crazy sometimes and very out there, but she's one of the smartest women I know. I think she's got a PhD now. And I am a college dropout who's just like making it up as he goes along, but I'm making it, but I'm very, very quiet. And I don't like being that known, ironically, or putting myself out there that much.
Well, and then your perspective really recolors that upbringing.
How so?
Well, you were talking about the difference in how you guys would describe your childhood, right?
Well, that's how my mom described it.
Oh, that's how your mom described it. Okay.
Yeah, I was just always alone. Like, I never thought about it being alone, though. Like, when I was a kid, I was just having fun. I was just being a kid. Like, that was normal to me. What I didn't realize until 3 years ago when I was coming home from a show, my mom said, your friend Derek, his mom called me and said he didn't want to sleep over, and that's why he actually stopped hanging out. I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. Derek was my best friend. What happened to Derek? And she said, he said that you were too much. His mom said you were too energetic for him, and I didn't realize what they were actually saying was I was too active in ADHD, and I was always moving from one thing to the next. We're playing video games for 10 minutes, and then I want to go outside and play cops and robbers. He still wants to play the video game for the next hour. I'm like, no, we got to go. We got to do things. Again, relating back to earlier what I said, I'm the guy who's like, let's go do stuff. I was like, let's go. I didn't realize as a kid, I thought I was just living a normal kid life. Apparently that was too much for my best friend or too much for other people.
Can you imagine being a parent and breaking up with your kid's best friend for him? That's wild.
And what's crazier is I literally didn't even learn that until just a few years ago. I was like, wait a minute.
Sounds like a sitcom episode.
Kinda, yeah.
My life.
Like everybody hates Chris or something. Everybody.
But yeah, that's
hates
just to say, you know, it can be
Everybody loves
background
John.
related, or I think psychology might also have a bit to do with it.
I do anyway.
What?
You have something to do with it?
No, I
Did
said,
you mess up, Kenpo?
Whoa.
I said I love John.
Oh.
He's a good dude.
Wait, Dad?
Do we? So I really have to pee.
That's why I just left and peed.
Should we wrap it or because
I
we've been
just,
going for
I just peed and came back.
We've been going for over an hour. Taylor, when do you got to go? It's like 11 o'clock.
I mean, if this needs to be a part 1 and 2, I'm good with whatever. Man.
I mean, it's not a part. It's like we can go as long as whatever. It's just because you're the one who has to drive like an hour and a half back home, 2 hours, whatever. Back to the land of ice and snow.
I'm having fun.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna pee. Then you guys
Hey.
keep the conversation
All
going.
right.
All right.
Sup.
Yeah.
Immediate awkward date vibes.
Me and John, who can talk for hours, just suddenly, awkwardly just can't
awkward
come up with
quiet.
something to talk about. How things going? How's the business?
See, I like how the moment he leaves, we're just like entrepreneurs. How's business?
Entrepreneurship.
That is literally how we start our conversations. We ask each other, "Yo, how's business?" Or I ask, "How's the wife?"
It's usually
sometimes.
about 30 minutes of just entrepreneurship, and that's all we say. That one word, back and forth,
entrepreneurship
at various tones and volumes.
Entrepreneurship.
And then we usually start to talk about snacks because we're getting hungry.
Yeah. No, honestly, like I was vibing the other night when you said, first of all, business is good.
That's good.
Surprisingly, the best I think holiday season we've had business wise in a very, very long time, if ever. But I also emceed for my first time. I don't know if you know what an MC is or what they do.
Yeah, that's like
Basically, a person like kind of
you're like an
transitions things.
for an event. Keep
Yeah.
it rolling. Yeah.
I got to do that for the first time, which was really dope because it was for a really big corporation, and I was nervous. And it was a construction company. I don't think they would care if I said, but it was for a construction company. And I remember I was so nervous. I wanted to get this so right because I was recording it because I was trying to branch off my resume into MC. And I was like, hey, I hit up my professional MC friend. I'm like, this is my client's name. This is their company. What do I say? And he goes, talk about Tonka trucks.
Talk about Tonka
And
trucks.
he said, he's like, poke fun at the fact that 2 middle-aged guys prove that Tonka trucks are still cool. And so I did, and it only got a little bit of laughs. And then I was like, oh no. And then immediately, this is how I knew I was nervous as a performer. I was like, I got to throw all my jokes in at once to get as many laughs as possible because that one didn't get the laughs that my ego is okay with. And I immediately went, yeah, and my God, these guys, they're your bosses. They're your HR. I would think like HR is like a Brenda or a Susan or a Barbara. Thank God you weren't a Karen. There's no way in hell I'm dealing with that. I would not be doing this event. And that is the reaction I got from the event. I was like, boom, and I immediately thought, okay, I got to move on, do my show now. But meta perspective, business is good, but I had a thing. We were vibing. Video games. You said you wanted video games. Sorry,
I just came back into this. This is real ADHD right now.
Yeah.
Wait, I wanted to.
He asked me how business was, and all of a sudden I just went into emceeing.
Have you seen our brains?
No, actually.
Of course you haven't, but
I live in mine though, and it's pretty chaotic. So.
But no, I was thinking about the fact that I want to game again. I miss gaming with you. Gaming was really fun.
I miss gaming with you too, John.
Carter.
I game when I have time.
Edit our fingers touching there, like just like.
That's too much work. This episode is already borderline too much work to edit.
This is gonna be a chaotic one too.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And then he leaves, and all of a sudden, 2 minutes later, he just goes ADHD.
We're gonna be at the mercy of Taylor's camera because once his camera battery dies, there's nothing I can do.
Oh.
So once that
I'll
shows
be
it's
invisible.
about to die, it could be 5 minutes, could be
I could sit on John's lap.
45
He likes
minutes.
that.
I'd be okay with that.
See,
I mean, you guys can.
I'll
do that,
host
I guess.
Taylor.
Host him.
host Taylor.
I can. All right, that's cool.
I hosted. Wait a minute. What are you doing for New Year's? What are you guys doing for New Year's?
Before
The people who we stood up to hang out with
Wow.
for New Year's with you and Anna last year.
Uh-huh.
We're doing New Year's with them this year
Okay.
to make it up to them.
I don't know.
That's
what
a whole year long. Like, dang. You're like, oh yeah. By the way, a year later, we'll hang out with you now.
I don't know what I'm doing for New Year's. That's always like a very last
Wanna hang
minute
out?
thing. I don't know. It's
Wow.
not
Okay,
not
cool.
like
Wow.
you, not you
No, all right,
specifically.
you know what, Taylor? I'm hanging out with you.
It's just like I don't. Every year, New Year's is a very last minute thing. I'm like, oh, who's
You
doing
guys-
a New
you
Year's
guys wanna-
party? Do I want to go? Do I not? Like, because it's not that fun.
You're not
It's
going
like
to the right parties.
you're staying up till mid. Well,
How about this? Whether it's on the actual day or not, within a month of New Year's, so within a month from now, we'll find a time and we can play Lego Fortnite together. You know,
I don't know that I want. Lego Fortnite is like the New Year's of video games.
the New
It's
Year's
kind of
what?
cool. A lot of people are doing it, but do I want to take part? I don't know.
I've literally never played Fortnite.
It's
I think it's like Minecraft and Fortnite.
it's solid. It's a solid game. It's a fun game to play with friends. Used to be really into it, but
Carter's just too good. He's not a gamer anymore.
no, now it's too much. I took like a year kind of away from gaming just because of how busy I was, and now I'm getting back into
wow,
it.
I'm so important.
No,
I'm
no,
too
no, no,
busy
no.
for gaming.
No, it was sad. I like
Get in
gaming
the
now.
slums with the rest of us.
I'll,
Get over here.
I'll sit down and I'll play Sea of Thieves for like a couple hours and just listen to a podcast. and
Didn't you
it's
say
great.
like a week or two ago you played games and you're like, I'm bored. I don't want to do this anymore. What do I do? I don't know. And then he went right back to gaming.
That was a weird Saturday. I like felt so weird that day.
You know what I would love to play with you guys? There's this game called Lethal Company, and probably half the viewers just left. You know, when we're getting into details about games, but
Is this that game that just came out? It's like Among Us, but it's
recently, yeah. So it's a game where you're trying to meet a quota for a soulless corporation that doesn't care if you live or die. Very relatable, but it's somehow way more fun than my
Wait,
job.
is this the thing that Markiplier just uploaded?
I believe so, yeah.
We love the company.
Yeah, so I've been playing that with random people, and I've been making friends like it's on Xbox Live back in like
man.
12.
no, even earlier, like 2009. Like
Oh, wow.
You know, you guys should play is the finals.
What's
I
that?
have been playing that. Do you want to play the finals?
I mean, sure. I have. It's 3. Yeah, sure. It's like okay, so
He doesn't. His PC won't be able to run that
it's
game.
it's a combination of a bunch of different types of games. It looks like a really good version. Like the characters look like they're from PUBG.
It looks like a battle royale too, like the way it's
Yeah.
advertised, but it's not.
It's like you go into an arena and it's like 3 or 4 teams of 3 players each. And it's like 2 game modes, super simple. You're either trying to like kill the other players and get coins by killing them.
Like
or
kill
you-
confirmed.
Yeah, or you're trying to like grab like a package and then deposit it and then you have to hold this location.
Kind of like Rush. In
Yeah, it's a
Battlefield.
very fast-paced PvP style game.
Yeah, but it to me it feels like Apex mixed with Bad Company 2. Like it's got destructibility.
There's a
Which is
lot of
fun.
Battlefield sort of vibes to it.
And Rainbow Six Siege, because you're defending a location and people can come through the ceiling, the floor, the window,
Yeah.
the wall.
It's really fun to like if somebody's depositing into the like the vault, if you go under it and like drop
Knock out the
it down
floor.
like it's the Italian job, that's fun.
Dude, yeah,
It's a fun game.
And you get all kinds of power ups. You have like grappling hooks, and then there's like a vanishing grenade you can use. So there's a lot of ways you can play, which is fun.
I
Yeah.
feel like this is you had to be there type of thing.
Could be. So me and
helps if you-
Carter are just isolating John. Well, now you can relate to our audience who is just totally like
In the dark.
Okay.
Kenpo,
Skip
say
15
what-
seconds. Oh, they're still talking about
say-
it. Skip 15 seconds.
If you look back during when you guys were talking and look at my face, it will say everything while your voices are in the background.
So Michael from class
yeah.
listens to the podcast, so he's probably listening. And I know he doesn't have time for gaming because he's doing seminary right
Don't
now.
tell Mr. England I said the F word on a public forum.
I don't give a shit. Go tell him I did.
So I was gonna say what Michael would say right now.
Oh, nothing I did.
You're welcome, Michael. You've been represented. All right.
I miss you, Pastor.
So New Year's is
New
dumb.
Hot take.
And that's why you won't hang out with me and John.
No, me. You're not hanging out with me regardless.
I don't know what's happening entirely. I've learned recently I don't
Why is-
really like
is your s-
locking myself into plans.
No, you don't. I've noticed that. And I used to take it personally, honestly. And I was like, wow, he just does, I'm not his vibe anymore.
No, it's just like if I have a weekend off, I'm hesitant to lock in plans because I'm like, honestly, I kind of just want to isolate a little bit, but I don't
Mhm.
know. Maybe I'll want to do something.
So
I think I might be turning into an introvert.
So if you don't know Carter super well, I feel like you're a really busy guy, Carter.
Yeah.
Even though I feel like you shouldn't be. So
I've backed off a little bit.
so here was my life when I was single, right?
Okay.
I would work my job. I would watch YouTube during my job. I would go home. I would watch YouTube at home. I would hit up 1 to 2 people a month to see if they wanted to do anything, and they'd usually be like, "Nah, we're busy." And then I would go to martial arts twice a week, and that's it. I had all the free time in the world. I did like nothing, and I feel like that's not at all the life you have lived while you've been single. You were like a social butterfly.
Yeah.
That's the impression I get.
It's a little much. I've eased up a little bit because honestly I've hit burnout a couple of times.
Yeah.
And it's just like I'm learning how to slow down, and a lot of it actually goes back to those really high expectations that I have for myself. Is I feel like I need to do certain things so I can be who I'm supposed to be and stuff like that, but that's starting to fade away a little bit. I'm learning to
You didn't pay your passage fee, sir.
Sorry about what is
I'll have to make it up. I'll figure it out.
it's nice smack on the keister.
I just wanted to be a smartass for a second.
You're always
Thank you.
I don't know if I should curse on my own podcast.
I mean, I think I've already done it more than both of you combined. So
I
Done
mean, you
what?
have, but
curse.
you're an agnostic, so it's okay.
Is that
The Bible
really my
doesn't.
card? I
The
just get to
Bible
play
does
with
not
everywhere.
condemn
It condemns
most bad words.
it condemns foul language, which is open to interpretation.
Wait, what
and
condemns foul language?
the Bible? Don't
Damn
darn
it.
it.
I said that like an hour ago.
Yeah, you're not supposed to curse other people or say the Lord's name in vain.
Well, it says
Oof, I did that.
don't let
today.
any foul language, don't let any unclean.
Who defines what's foul or unclean?
That's what I'm saying. I don't know, and it drives me crazy.
This is Carter in the hot seat. You got any?
But I've
Questions
worked
to
for a Christian
stump him?
employer for my entire adult life, pretty much. So I kind of
What
have
you're
to.
saying is you're square.
I mean,
What we're saying is I grew up in ministry and I haven't found my way out
for
of
a
it.
second I
yet.
thought you were
I
about
haven't
for a
found
second.
my way out.
For a second, I thought you were about to say I
Like
grew
you're
up in
trapped
Minnesota.
in a corn maze of ministry.
See, most people they choose ministry. They're like, I want to help people get closer to God. I joined ministry because I was bagging groceries and stocking vegetables on the shelf, and I had the opportunity to do video somewhere where my best friend worked, and I had connections to that ministry already, and I'm like, yeah, great, let's do it. And I've been in ministry ever since.
Yeah. So there's this thing I've always been disconnected with, and maybe you can agree with it. A lot of people I used to know from Granger were like this, like Granger Christian Schools. But there's a lot of Christians who they like put ministry on this pedestal of like, I am better for being in it. Like, cause I'm on worship team, I'm the cool person. And like
The worship team people, they are the cool people. They are the jocks. They are the people that everybody shows up once a week to like, and they're on stage. Like that's the cool people.
But-
They're
but-
talented.
here's the thing, not everybody is meant to
This is
be like on worship team or like even meant to do a job that's predominantly centered around helping people. Because I've worked a lot of jobs where I'm helping people with disabilities. I was working for a nonprofit for the last like 2 years before I came to my most recent job. And guess what? It's not my passion at all. Like if I went into like making like,
you went hard though with that job. Like you worked in LAD, which is those people are handicapped. You're
Yeah.
like you had to do some pretty gross stuff, right?
yeah, that
You
was
went hard in the paint when it came to helping
that
people.
wasn't the issue though. Like I do not get any satisfaction or pride from helping others. Now that sounds psychopathic to some people, but it shouldn't, because guess what? That doesn't mean I morally don't think it's a good thing. I think it's a great thing to do that, but I'm fulfilled by doing creative stuff, and I'm fulfilled by conversations like this, I guess. I'm not
Is it about
Helping
doing
people doesn't grease my gears.
is
And that's
is-
okay. I have
is-
to come to accept that.
is
It's okay.
life about doing what fulfills us?
Or what's right.
Right.
I think it's what's doing what's right, whether or not you get joy out of it.
So
And
if you're
I'm not Satan because I don't get joy out of doing what's right.
I'm not
I do what's right because it's right. Basically, I don't get joy out of I don't do what's right because I feel good doing it. I don't think people should. I think they should do it because it's right. Like,
Yeah, but I mean people can feel good from doing the right
that's
thing.
okay
though.
too.
Yeah.
But it's also okay to not.
This is true. This is very
I used
true.
to think at one point I thought I was a bad person.
If you're going to let your emotions like dictate when you do something
Yeah.
that's right, then it's not great.
Well, that's where we get this individualistic culture that we live in. Where like,
Why did you both look at me when he said that?
I didn't look. I looked
No,
down.
'cause-
I dropped my
because
bottle
we've
cap.
talked about this a lot before. Like,
Yeah.
just
Man,
like-
that's a whole toxic thing.
That's a whole nother
that
topic.
individualistic vibe.
So what do you guys define as that? 'Cause- And I asked that because I realized that I have a different perception of karma than, for example, Daibu, who I had to talk with that about the other day. So what's your perception on individualistic?
So individualistic thinking that I feel like we've talked about a lot. It's delayed. It's immediate versus delayed gratification. Like I think that's something that really in our culture it prioritizes this idea that whatever makes you feel good in the moment, that's
Gotcha.
what you should go after. That's what's right. That's what love is. That's what. And like I don't vibe with that at all. I don't think that's true.
That's
Like
fair.
I think there's a lot of things that you can be that can make you feel bad, right? That actually might help people, right? Working with people with disabilities and they're covered in piss, right? And you're cleaning them up. That doesn't feel good for you. You don't have any immediate gratification from that. But like in the long run, is it better that you did that? Yes, that's a good thing to be doing for somebody. And I think our culture is centered around a little bit more of a
what makes me
me-centered.
what makes me feel good? What? Yeah, it's
Or what makes everybody in the room right now feel good? Because like there is a little bit of like, oh, I'm trying to make you feel good too in our culture. But
yeah, and that's like that's not what love is either. It's not about pleasing other people per se. It's not about like
You
yeah.
mean we shouldn't abide by cancel culture?
what?
no, we shouldn't divide cancel culture. No, I don't think so.
No, I'm 100% on board with that, which is why I jokingly brought it up. I said, you mean we shouldn't abide by cancel culture?
Abide by no.
Appease the snowflakes?
I
Yeah,
thi-
that's right. I said it. Cancel me. Go for it.
I think that man, it's so easy to be individualistic. Like everything is focused on that. It's like it's just look at the world through that lens for a day and just be like, how much of what I'm doing right now is about me and what I feel versus am I helping people? Am I
Well, and I think our culture really threw out the baby with the bathwater because it's like the reason they're so individualistic now is because we used to be very collectivist, very collectivists. Like in China or Japan, it's more about like how your actions affect your whole family, right? And there's problems with that too. Like just because the whole culture says that, you know, women shouldn't be able to work doesn't mean women shouldn't be able to work. Like, and so they threw all that out and focus on these individual ideas. But then there's negatives that are coming with that too that are permeating culture. So
Speaking of that, you want to know something gross? So I think one of these things has to do okay, growing up in the circles that I've been in, being around the people I grew up with, it's a very common viewpoint that one of those individualistic thing has to do with people and their sexuality, right? And transgenderism is a really hot topic amongst the boomers in my life right now.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Boomers? Really?
Yeah. And there's a big thing.
it's not just a boomer thing though.
Well, it's not. But the boomers in my life are talking about it more than anybody else
That's interesting.
because they're kind of triggered by it. But the whole thing about it is that like, you know, it's individualistic. It's about like, what. Yeah, it
There's
has
a
to-
lot there. Yeah.
There's a lot there, but it has to do with the whole individualistic. It's about me sort of mentality. But that's how I'm tying this in because it has nothing to do with that. If you're a man and you go, this is disgusting. If you're a man and you go through the surgery to become a woman and you get I'm going to use an explicit.
Triple explicit tag.
Oh yeah, this is scientific. This is medical. If you get a vagina as a man, you have to dilate it. I learned this from a nurse who works at a hospital. You have to dilate it every day because otherwise your body views that cavity in your body as an open wound. So it will close up and it will heal over itself if you
Interesting
don't
how
dilate
biology works, isn't it?
It's fascinating. Yeah.
It's almost like your genetic code
Sorry, that was a
has a has a script for like how your body should look when it's healed.
It's like nope, we're not. That's not. So all that.
I digress.
I digress. I totally went on a weird rabbit trail with that. but
I've been on that topic for no. I'm happy you brought it up because I've had it with other people as well.
People don't talk about that sort of thing. And when I heard
they're
about
afraid,
that, it's like, it's
and that's
crazy.
why I was like, I am semi-serious about, and I said this to him off camera, which is like, before we even start this, I think I might have said it to you too. It's like, I almost put a middle finger emoji on Instagram a few weeks ago, in a black space, just a
Jon.
middle finger emoji, and with the word cancel culture, and then I changed cancel to woke culture, and then I was just like, I want to put both in there, and then I just like scrapped the whole idea. But it's just like, it's just gotten so out of hand in general, and now like this is a topic that we're all talking about because you can, especially in California, you can just make a 5-minute call and they don't even do a psych eval on you; they just give it to you, and that's crazy.
Wait, give what to you?
Give you a gender reassessment
They
surgery.
schedule a surgery. Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah, as we're like, this is a psychological condition. What's going on neurologically that makes you want this? Let's go through some stuff to make sure you're fully safe.
It is a complicated topic for sure.
That is, I think, officially one of the very few topics that is a whole nother topic on its own.
How did we get into it?
I feel personally.
Were we talking about the homies being gay? Is that what happened?
In the past like 30, 45 minutes,
That sounds like us.
I feel like we finally naturally got into a flow with each other and actually had legitimate trio, just natural conversation transitions.
Yeah.
Because I feel like the first portion of this, in my mind, what I felt like we were trying to force things that were interesting or funny, and then eventually we got into a groove.
It just takes time. That's how these things are.
Does it always feel that way? Like real talk on a podcast, is it always that way?
I feel like, very rarely is it. Sometimes it never reaches that point where you hit a flow and then it's just awkward and then you wrap it at the 45-minute mark or whatever.
Well,
but like
sometimes a conversation doesn't have a good flow, but it's still a good conversation, if that makes sense.
Yeah, but like sometimes it just hits a natural rhythm like
Yeah.
it did with us, and that's a whole thing.
That's why I've been wanting to do one with you for so long, because like when we get into the flow, it's always a good flow.
I would love to do a more regular podcast of some kind with like the same people, because like transgenderism, for instance, like I used to think about that a lot before it was even popular online.
Wasn't that because of your Twitch following?
Because of what?
Your Twitch following?
No. This was like between the ages of like 9 and like 20.
Oh.
And I think it'd be interesting to cover that.
How did you
in
hear
depth.
about transgenderism at the age of 9?
Well, I don't really want to get into
Being
it.
homeschooled. Wait, what? I have so many questions for that podcast.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't really want to get into it, but
No, you're
I mean,
good.
I see the appeal of what the reasons people delve into that place and that line of thinking. And I was there at certain points, and yeah.
I think it's fair to say also, just as a this probably should have been a precursor.
It always interests me.
We love y'all. We respect y'all. We just want you guys to make the best decision ultimately for yourself at the end of the day.
For real, for sure.
Yo.
Oh God. Fra.
On God.
Dude, I just saw the YouTube short of like a middle-aged guy going, so what do you think about millennials? And this kid was like maybe 9, 10, 11, goes, I think it's really cool to look back on my ancestors, the millennial. And I just went, oh my God. And I was like, we're that age.
You're that age.
Crap,
I'm not there
I am
yet.
that age.
I'm a good 4 years behind.
You're not that far behind. You're not that far
Yeah.
behind. Just remember that. You'll
Taylor,
be there someday.
Are you 30 yet?
No.
You're 28.
28.
How's it
Solid.
feel?
Shot in the dark.
Feels good.
You're almost there.
I'm almost there.
I started feeling joint issues at age 27.
We're starting to get closer to the middle-age crisis years. Finally going to buy a motorcycle.
I've been thinking about a Yamaha for a while, but I don't feel like immediately going out and just spending all my money on it.
I do. I'm very fiscally irresponsible.
Now Carter just needs to, as we're starting to talk about this subject, put on that TikTok filter that you get older every second in our audience's eyes. No, I mean, I'm 28. I feel like most of the way that I feel slower has more to do with me having done less training. Like it, because it happened so suddenly when I slowed down on some of my training, and I'm already getting like feeling younger again in a way, just from starting to get back into more regular training. The biggest thing that's going to help, and I think that has affected negatively the most, is weight. So like I weigh like 220 right now.
Yep.
A healthy weight for me is like 180. 200 isn't too bad, but like I kind of tipped over into the point where it's like too much extra weight, and like even a lot of things I love, like pull-ups and stuff like that, it's just so heavy that I can't do many reps. I can't really turn it into a full workout anymore. And then like I get more things with like knees and stuff, like pain or just more aches and stuff. I think it's just because my body's a little heavier, moving around, doing everything.
Did you find from the outside perspective, I have not seen a single couple get married and not each put on like 10 to 15 or plus pounds. Did you find after you got married that like you and Brandy both, well, okay, let's take Brandy out of it because I don't want you to incriminate yourself.
While we were dating,
while you were dating, it started.
So when you're somebody who's into fitness, at least, and that's you're very similar. We're all three of us are actually have a similar background where we all appreciate fitness. We all like trying to get more protein in our diets to some extent. I don't know if you care as much about that.
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know you care about health. Like,
yeah, no, I'm trying to get I'm about to re-enter the probably one of, if not the healthiest period of my life.
That's awesome. That's great.
It's weird. Lots of fruit. It's so much.
Lots of fruit.
Lots of fruit.
So you realize how much fruit and veggies you have to eat to get 2,500 calories? It's stupid.
Well, especially without meat.
Yeah, so this man doesn't eat meat, so that's kind of his fault. But,
Strawberries, but the wishes.
to answer Carter's question, yeah, no. So that most of the time when I would have junk food or food that would help make me gain weight, eating too much, it would be an emotional reason for it. You know, like I just am really craving something because I didn't eat for too long during the day, and then I get a craving because my body wants something, or something I've just been thinking about for a while and haven't had in a while. That would happen once every week or maybe once every 2 weeks, right? That's not too bad. You can manage your weight and do that, and you don't have to train 7 days a week to do that. Now, I was also training like 7 days a week.
Yeah.
Props to you, by the way.
When I got married, it's twice the amount of those cravings. Like she's thinking about mac and cheese. I'm thinking about ice cream. What happens when she gets mac and cheese? I eat mac and cheese too.
Right.
I eat faster than her, so I eat. I
You
probably eat
eat
more.
fast. You're a fast.
That's
But,
the first thing I ever talked to her about when he wasn't around us when I met her.
I've heard this.
I'm a
story.
fast eater. I'm known for that.
And for the record, I was scared
Guilty.
to tell you that for years.
You were a parent. Okay, I didn't know until my bachelor's party that some people were intimidated by me. Like that I had intimidating aspects of my personality because I try to project just friendly. I care about everybody in my friend
I like
group.
throwing Carter in a fire.
That was
Goofy,
a night.
fun. Like I never really thought of myself as being intimidating in any social, physical. Well, maybe a little bit physical at martial arts, but like any social or emotional way.
That's like
or intellectual way.
That's a crossover point too when you start to realize that you actually like people look up to you, and you are intimidating to some people, but like when you live in a brain like mine, like you are picking yourself apart all the time, and you're just like I still walk into grocery stores and just have like some like I don't want to say anxiety, but I'm just very self-aware of like, what am I wearing? Are people judging me? I've always had like this weird chip on my shoulder. I'm not entirely sure where it came from.
I had that for sure because I was told growing up that I may be looked down upon by public schooled kids because I was homeschooled.
That's my theory, is that it came from being homeschooled. Because like
Well, not
I would
from
go
being
and play sports.
It's from what your parents told you about being homeschooled.
Probably. But like I went and played sports with like public schoolers, and I always felt like I had to prove myself. And then like if I went and I was in a class like in college with other people who weren't homeschooled, I felt like I had to prove myself.
That's also why I won't feel like I've made it until I'm making like $100K a year.
Yeah.
There's just a chip on my shoulder where it's like, I feel like my cousins and my mom's family maybe look down on us being homeschooled, and well, more my aunts and uncles than my cousins, but just this idea that like, if I don't get to a point where I'm like more successful, not even just like regular successful, like, oh, my family's fine, we're saving a little bit of money, like I have to do something great. Otherwise I'm failing my talents and abilities because I'm so gifted. I'm a millennial. I'm so great. But also that my family did the right thing homeschooling me, and I need to prove that by being hyper successful.
Here's a little something that I was saying earlier about encouragement. You are enough right where you are. Even if you don't do anything else the rest of your life, even if you and Brandy and the girls grow up in a cracker box for the rest of your life, it's totally fine. You don't need to accomplish anything. You can make the exact same amount you're making now. You can make less.
I can't turn off
You're enough.
being critical
You're
to
good.
actually accept that.
I know. I understand.
Oh, those.
I understand.
Though.
But I'm still going to say it because somebody has to say it.
So if I just, here's a thought. Like, if I decide I'm enough, my family will be worse off than if I never felt like I was, because I will accomplish more by believing I need to do more.
I don't know. This is true.
Like Batman, never,
Sort of.
like
Sort
Batman,
of.
never
I
giving
actually
up
think that there is a secret sauce to
a balance.
to accepting that you do not have to go above and beyond.
No, I
think
need
you
to use mental illness to power my success in life.
Okay.
This is the way.
Where's your helmet?
Well, you had something you were gonna say, John? I looked
Oh
like you
no,
were
I
raising
was
your
literally
hand.
just like
Preach.
because like I genuinely. So I make a joke about it a lot on live streams, but it is true. I created an addiction to work because I was very, very afraid of being homeless. I was on the brink of homeless here 10 years ago. And I went from being almost on the literal streets to where I am now because of my addiction to work. But the thing is, I make it into a joke so I can cope with it. But the truth is, I don't mind it, because if I minded it, I wouldn't do it to begin with. And I've been wanting this since I was a kid. So this has been a deeply rooted thing since the age of 8. And it then took 10 years to start as a magician because, you know, my parents were like, oh, it's a hobby. Let them do some magic shows or whatever. But I'm like you now
Wish
as an
my
adult.
parents
It's like,
said that.
what?
It's a hobby.
Yeah.
Let him do it.
Yeah.
He's climbing trees.
See, Carter,
He's running around with a sword in the backyard.
Carter, I don't need to hear that I'm enough. I need to hear, oh, that's a cool hobby. You should do it. From my parents. That's what I need.
Okay, next time I talk to your parents, I'll let them know. I'll be like, hey, listen, next time Taylor comes up with some
I'm smiling
BS
and laughing
weird
because
thing.
there's some deep truth to this.
Oh, there is.
But it's like-
100%.
Again, always critical, always doing the pragmatic, practical thing. Like, that's what I was taught to value. So why would my hobby be something I should spend money on? I should save that for a car or college someday. You know how much that amounted to? Like $600. I saved birthday and Christmas money for years. And this is like turned into an event session. I'm not actually that mad about it, but maybe part of me is. And
All
that's
right.
why I have to talk about it.
My camera's going dark. I ran out of storage.
I think my camera's still going.
No, yours is still going.
I feel like we're
Taylor's
going
is still
so strong, though.
We are going. We're not going to stop. I'm just saying we're going dark.
Never gonna stop.
Don't stop.
You want-
make it hot. Or
So,
Longest,
okay.
biggest
I had-
editing job for Carter.
I had a moment.
I'll hire an editor for you, Carter.
Okay.
I know one.
$100. I that's all I am willing to give. But
No, it's fine. It's not that much work. I have the next 2 weeks off because of Christmas. I'll do it.
good for
Carter
you.
spends 2 weeks editing this podcast because it's such a mess.
How was
It's
your Christmas
actually
vacation?
not.
It sucked. What'd
It's
you do?
actually
I edited
not.
it.
I just have to throw the explicit sticker on it and cut out like 2 parts and we're good to go. Okay, but so back to what we were saying. There was a moment the other day and I was really struggling with anxiety, which is one of the things I struggle with a little bit. Circumstantial anxiety. But I was struggling with it and I kind of realized that like I kind of traced it back, or I think God kind of helped me see that one of the things that was causing this anxiety was that I was like, I was afraid of missing out. And I thought like, I need to get this decision right so that I don't miss out. And then I realized like, if I live the rest of my life with this mentality, even if I don't miss out, I'm going to be anxious all the time about missing out. I would rather not worry about missing out and be like less anxious and actually content, because I'm going to miss out either way. And I would rather not be anxious and miss out than worry about doing like the best and like making the perfect choice every time. And that was like, that helped. And because it's kind of it's the mentality of, it goes against that perfectionistic sort of thing, that perfectionistic prison that we kind of put ourselves in.
Yeah. It's better to walk in any direction and even get hit by a bus than it is to just stand in the same spot and never move your whole life. I mean,
Ladies and
at
gentlemen,
least
if you're at a bus stop, please don't walk in front of the bus.
at least in a philosophical standpoint, like it's very easy, especially a lot of Christians believe that like, oh, God has a plan for your life. It's like, I believe he has a plan, but I used to think that I had to follow this perfect plan. Oh crap, I can't do the wrong thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's very,
I don't know where that really came from. That's a whole bubble that,
we're good kids and wanting to prove to our parents that we're good kids and good Christian. I don't know.
And then, you know, you want to prove to God that you're a good Christian and that, because that's what you're taught anyway.
Somebody could walk away from this thinking that we like have
we
like,
don't diss on it.
Like I still very much am glad that I grew up the way I did.
Same.
It's recognizing and seeing the areas that like I need to work on as an adult that come from the way I am, you know.
Yep. Everybody has that stuff growing up that we all have to work through. It's just how it be.
Facts.
We're reaching the 2-hour mark. Shall we?
How many minutes are we away?
Wait for it to 6 minutes away.
Let's fill it up.
Okay. Let's fill it up.
You know what I really wanted when I was younger?
Guitar. I'm projecting.
Love.
Yes, love. No, I mean like one thing I always wanted more than anything else is I wanted like a group of friends who was just like hanging out around town, you know, going on our bikes together to the movies and stuff like that.
You wanted to live in like the 1980s.
Like the 1980s.
As a 12-year-old.
Here's the thing. Most 12-year-olds in the 1980s didn't have that many friends who they could constantly do stuff with.
That honestly sounded like the 90s for me.
Or the 90s, yeah. Like that's what I wanted. And it's one of those funny things where the more I tried to grab onto that with people, the more it felt like people just didn't want to have anything to do with me. Doesn't that suck?
Yeah.
Well, my question would it be they didn't want anything to do with you, or were you just taking it personal because they realistically didn't want anything to do with the vision?
No, realistically, they were just their own people in their own lives with their own story and didn't realize how much that would have meant to me. And, you know, it's just...
But I think that also goes with the vision. That's what I'm saying is like, because like, why, like really quick, why'd you join martial arts?
I don't know, because I wanted to. I was like 14.
Why'd you join martial arts?
I was looking for something in life just to do, and I always wanted to learn how to fight better.
Same, except I never knew how to fight to begin with. So like we all had that vision in some way, shape, or form. So I think the point behind what I was saying you is I don't think it was so much about you, although maybe someone didn't like you. I know when I first met you, I was like, I don't know about this guy. I'm not sure I like hanging out with him. He's a very fast eater and he talks quick and he scares me. But we all joined martial arts more or less for the same vision. Maybe they just didn't have that vision that you had, because honestly that sounded like the mid to late 90s for me, and I loved that.
Well, not even just like biking around, but like, okay, let's say today, say you, me, and Carter decided to hang out just way more often, keep up. You know, we get in Discord when we have free time, play games together, just do more shit with the same people and get really close. That sounds really good. But the fact is, I can get almost any friend I've ever had to say that, oh yeah, that's amazing. Let's do that. We should really do that. But it's always just, we should really do that. And people just don't. I think it's just, people are so busy. It gets so hung up on so many other things.
Taylor's camera is now dark.
It's just a weird caveat. One of those weird things in life. I don't know. It's like everybody on some level wants that, but then they look for it in the wrong places, or the people they could have it with, they just don't
People are
engage with.
I think it kind of has to do with how busy we are too. Because by the time we wrap up a 40-hour work week, or for some people over 40 hours, like you kind of just want to chill on your own sometimes. And then that's why people say like, yo, we should do that. And they're like, I don't actually. And then there's probably more to it where people just don't want to open up to each other.
Well, it's
and
like, what do you prioritize? Because, for example, you might be tired, but if you have just enough energy, you're going to want to go home to your wife and kids, and you're going to make it happen because that's a real priority for you. Versus if you didn't have a wife and kids, you'd be like, whatever happens, happens. Because that's your priority in life. So, like, what's the priority? Which is why so basically what you're describing now with the Discord and everything kind of sounds like the game nights we used to have, which is honestly the virtual version of what I just got into this year, which is in-person game nights with my old friend group, where every Friday night we got together, we ate, we drank a little bit, and then we play hours and hours of D&D or whatever board game. And I enjoyed it, but I also enjoyed the intimacy of just you and me bullshitting on Discord over a game. Because, like, whether or not we were drinking, it was always a good time. And it was kind of like the start of this podcast, which is like we were just talking, and it almost sounded like a drunken podcast without any drinking involved. And I think that's a sign of, prioritizing that friendship, that connection, but also a great freaking connection to be able to have that element to it.
As we wrap up the last 90 seconds, I do want to say I completely identify with it's like the Stranger Things vibe. It's like you ride around town with your friends. You're all close enough to ride your bikes to each other's places, or like the movie Super 8, same sort of thing. Which that whole vibe was like kind of impossible for a lot of us because we lived a 15-minute drive away down highways and stuff. But I honestly kind of hope that's like what heaven is. I hope we're like just a bunch of kids.
The things that break up our connection and ability to prioritize each other just aren't there anymore, and so we're able to just
I mean,
be with people
we'll
who
have
care
all the
about.
time. We'll have all the time and ever.
Infinity retirement.
Infinity retirement. That's one way to look at heaven.
If Kenpo,
We're all just like old and gray,
if Kenpo,
eating Jello and
That
poorly
sounds dope.
seasoned mashed potatoes and green beans,
it sounds pretty bad actually.
Right.
with employees who just could not care less about our bull crap.
We could rock that out here, and we should all try to land in the same not funeral home,
Nursing home.
nursing home. We should try to land in the same funeral home just for fun too. But
My kids better not put me in a nursing home. I've changed too many diapers.
I'm gonna go live in a cabin in the woods before they put me in a funeral
Then
home.
they're going to have to
Probably.
change your diapers.
That scares me too much. The last thing I would want is to fall in a cabin in the woods and like die like a 5-day death where I just can't move off. Where did this go?
Get
We're gonna wrap this up quick. I just got real dark.
Yeah, if we go on another segue, this is gonna last
I
like
think
another
this
hour.
and the unfortunate thing is, this is where the good stuff is, because now it feels like the natural flow I was talking about a while back.
Well, it's the classic podcast thing. You turn off the mics, that's when the real conversation happens. Anyway, thank you guys for joining us. If you haven't, make sure to head over to YouTube, like, subscribe, comment. We will comment back and maybe shout you out.
Wait, 1 second. I think we did it.
We did what?
We did it. We got back to the roots.
I think
we
we
really did in this conversation.
See you later.
Good night.
The Back to the Roots podcast.